know
What?
someone that did. She
Ironically-
actually had her first French kiss with her dog.
Wait, what?
Accident.
Ironically, we were talking about fucking animals earlier, so I mean...
Dude,
Who was
there's
the
a
first person
Yeah,
to
so
fuck
gal in
Final
college,
Fantasy
she used to fuck
14
her dog,
Shadowbringers.
like,
The main
unironically.
plot revolves.
And she was like fucking traumatized when the dog died.
No.
Had to-
Hi guys! How's it going?
It's Lucy. Who are you, sir?
Wow,
I'm
it's my favorite
I'm-
Toad impersonator.
I'm today's guest lecturer, as you may
Again?
know. Yeah, again.
well, shit, we must be desperate.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the soup of the day.
Yeah.
Zzz.
Okay. Red Dwarf. Ooh.
Reward.
I'm sorry about the whiteboard. I was in a rush. It doesn't look too appealing, but all of this will make sense to you. All of this will make sense to you by the end of the lecture. Or your money back.
I didn't pay for this. I was forced to come here against my will.
Okay, then I'll pay you if I fail.
Suck the instructor's cock.
Yeah, I need this off. Woo! Okay.
You just got COVID.
Shush.
Nah, he got COVID.
Red Dwarf is a British sci-fi comedy from 1988. We're gonna talk about it for like 3 hours,
Wait,
guys.
it's old?
It's 1988 old.
What the fuck?
It came out 1 year after Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, well, shit.
When was this released in relationship to Star Trek?
Like I think the first Star Trek series was on break. I don't know. I think the first Star Trek series was on break, but I do know that like Star Trek The Next Generation starts when it was like in like 93, 94.
Star Trek,
95.
the original series, started in 1966.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, that wasn't going on when this was. So the big thing about Red Dwarf is that the main inspiration of this series was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This was heavily influenced by the books, and the two writers, Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, decided to come together, form a business called like Grant Naylor Productions, and they just made a show that is a sci-fi British comedy on BBC. This series eventually came on to become so big in Britainland that it got like several books just to like for an extended universe sort of thing. It had several comic books. It had web comics as well. And it even had like a role-playing game at some point. There's like a role-playing system for Red Dwarf.
How long did it go till?
It's still going.
Oh, it's still... Oh, that's cool.
This, like, at the end here, The Promised Land came out in 2020. And it has not been canceled yet. So, yeah. Some things we should mention first. Red Dwarf, the big company of Red Dwarf is the Space Corps. They're largely a militaristic organization, but they're...
I'm sorry, it's Corps. Please don't say corpse again.
Sorry, the Space Corps. That is correct. It is pronounced Space Corps in the thing. It's just written corpse, so I get confused. Ooh. So the Space Corps is a company that is largely militaristic, but they're also responsible for the space travel that they have throughout the series. It takes place. The series starts off in the year 2140, so future. We have like space travel and stuff. In the Space Corps, there is like a subdivision of it known as the JMC, or the Jupiter Mining Corporation. This is the mining company that goes out and mines stuff. The JMC also is sort of like the IKEA of mining companies. They have they have their own food products. They have their own like magazines. They have like a board game too. So it's like a bunch of stuff that's just related to the company.
Question already.
Okay.
Can you hand me the little...
Hand on the mic.
Oh yeah, Mike.
So, the Space Corps is a company, not a, like, government branch.
It's not really specified if it's like a part of the government or not, but it seems to be like some sort of military organization.
Okay. So JMC is separate from the Space Corps.
Well, JMC is a part of the Space Corps because they don't just do military stuff; they do all sorts of like.
Okay,
like
so
industrial
JMC
work.
is a department under the Space Corps.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the ship Red Dwarf, the Red Dwarf is the ship that has been commissioned by the Jupiter Mining Corporation. It is a mining ship, and it is the size of a city. It is like 6 miles long, 3 miles wide, and 3,000 stories. So this thing is enormous. Like, you could take a vacation to another part of the ship while you're on it. Like, that's how big it is.
Okay.
They have like TSA agents on it, you know? So pretty big. There's some other stuff, like the ship's AI is known as Holly. He's like this bald guy on a TV screen that like helps run the ship.
It's like Zordon.
Yeah, like Zordon. Yeah, so Holly's like the ship's computer. And there's also like, the ship can like sustain one hologram. A hologram, you know, like is like a light projection of another person, but specifically within the universe of Red Dwarf, holograms are thought of as like a memorial to a person who has passed on. So like if someone were to die on Red Dwarf, they would create a hologram of that person so that they can sort of live on in spirit. They can't really touch or do anything, but they can still talk. They can still... Question?
So you can only have one hologram on the ship at a time, right?
Yes.
So I assume a lot of people die on the ship.
Well, yeah, actually, a lot of people do die on the ship.
Where do all of these holograms go if they can't stay on the ship?
So they only can sustain one hologram, so they're always sustaining, like, the person who is of the highest rank who has passed on. Everyone else is just dead.
Are they just, like, their holographic souls are in reserve if we ever need them?
Yes, they have, like... Okay, so the ship takes, like, recordings of your personality, and you can sort of save your memories and everything onto a disc. And then that is stored in reserve in case they ever want to bring you up. So this is like known as a holodisc, so you can like plug it in and then bring up the hologram of that person.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. What else? I mean, it's like a big ship. Oh, there's some background lore we learn about later that I guess I'll just go over now because it's, I mean, it's not that important, but it helps sort of characterize the setting. But yeah, so one thing you have to know is, at some point in the future, in the series of Red Dwarf, like after 2140, it is revealed, people have scientifically concluded that there are no aliens. We are truly alone in the universe.
Yikes.
There is no God, there is no afterlife, there is nothing but deep, bleak emptiness.
Yeah, how far have humans traveled from Earth?
We will get to that. That's something that's revealed later on, but very far.
I love depression in my cipher.
Okay.
I think we're good to start with series 1.
Alright, so this is where spoilers start?
Yeah, spoilers are starting now. We're getting into actual show. This is not magnetic, you lied to me. We're not gonna do that then. Thanks a lot, Tyler.
Wait, the board isn't magnetic?
The board is not magnetic.
No,
this is a magnet.
You're fucking stupid. Try it again.
Have you tried sticking to the metal bits?
I don't think the board is magnetic.
Oh my
I
god.
don't think it's magnetic at all.
Oh my god.
Just put your finger.
See,
right
it is
next to
magnet. See, this is a magnet.
The fucking
Just for
wooden
proof
part.
that Tyler lied to me. Okay. So the first episode is called The Ends, and it starts off with the two main characters of the show. Dave Lister, who is like sort of a college slacker type. He's super gross. He like there's constant jokes throughout the show of like how dirty his socks are, that they're like considered a new organism. Like the ship cannot recognize that his socks are like a different, like they're just moldy and they're like not like a separate entity, right? Yeah, so his story is that he's an orphan and he was found at the like underneath a pool table in a box with like the writing Arab Aris or something on it. Whoever wrote it like couldn't spell or anything, so he was thought of to be like he was just a parent of some like dummy who like couldn't take care of him because he was dumb. And so he went to like an orphanage and he has a bunch of stories about like just like there's like one story where his father passed, like his adopted father passed away, and they were trying to explain to him that he went in the same place as his goldfish, so he thought they flushed him down the toilet. Yeah, he would like. They took him to therapy after he was reading the sports scores or like the sports. What is it called? Like the scores in like football or whatever.
I don't know.
Highlights?
The scores.
Yeah, when he was reading the highlights to the toilet. He would like flush food down there and stuff. So yeah, not the brightest guy.
What a fucking loser.
So his big thing is that he's on Red Dwarf. He's been there for not too long. And he's on Red Dwarf trying to raise money because his ultimate goal is to move to Fiji with one of the other people of Red Dwarf named Christine Kachansky that he has a crush on. He wants to move to Fiji, start a farm, have a sheep and a cow, and breed horses.
Well, the man's got plans.
Yeah, he has plans. He planned it.
How did we get here? Yeah. How did we get here from space?
Well, there is an Earth. He wants to go back to Earth eventually. He's just on Red Dwarf right now and like just doing his job.
It's like when you're on an oil
To raise
rig
money.
and you want to go back home in the city.
Yeah.
Eventually. There's like a mining operation in deep space.
He's just in deep space right now, but he plans to go back to Earth later. All right.
Sorry. I could have painted that back better.
How deep in space do we know?
It's not really specified how deep in space they are right now, but it's
But like,
presumably
it's not that far from Earth.
they're not that far from Earth. They could make it back pretty easy.
Are they within like our solar system?
It's not. That's not. I don't think they are, but it's not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they aren't. No, they definitely aren't. Yeah, I remember now. They definitely aren't. Okay, so that's Dave Lister, and then the other person is Arnold Judas Rimmer. Rimmer is like, okay, so Dave Lister is the lowest ranking member on the ship. He is third technician. He's like the assistant vending machine repairman. Arnold Judas Rimmer is second technician, meaning he's the second lowest ranking person on the ship. The only person he outranks is Lister.
Very cool.
So, Arnold Judas Rimmer, or just Rimmer for short, is like he's like the parallel opposite to Lister, where he's like really uptight, he's really neurotic, he's very obsessed with rank. He wants to like become an officer and become a captain, become the highest ranking person on the ship. And what he does is that he takes like this test known as the astronavigational test to like become a navigation officer, and that's his ultimate goal in the series is to accomplish that. He has taken it 9 times and has failed every time.
Very
He's
cool.
he's not very astute. But what else is there about him? He's just like, his upbringing is that he was raised by like his father was like really obsessed with getting into the Space Corps, because when his dad tried to get into the Space Corps, he was like an inch below regulation height, so they kicked him out. And so he was obsessed with making sure that Rimmer and his siblings were like tall enough. By the time his siblings were like 11, they were 6 feet tall. If every day, or I forgot like the amount of time that had passed, if they had not grown at all, they would be put on a stretching rack and sort of stretched out to be taller. Yeah. He would also have to like take quizzes on astronavigation to like get food in his household. So if he was failing his test, like if he wasn't passing, if he couldn't answer the questions, he wouldn't get any food. And later on, it's asked like, how did you survive that? He just says, I nearly died of malnutrition. So, off to a good start. Also, Rimmer hates Lister because Lister is annoying and gross and does a lot of stupid, gross stuff. So he's always like putting Lister on report for just doing stuff. Like he puts him on report for humming, clicking, and being silent. And this very first scene, that's like the big thing that he gets Lister down for. So Rimmer is trying to take his astronavigational test again, and this time his plan is to write all the answers on his arms and legs so that when he's stuck on a question, he can just refer to like the limbs on his body and just look at the stuff he wrote in marker, right?
This is gonna go well.
He's in a jumpsuit and he walks in, and when he tries to lift the jumpsuit off, it smears all over his arm and he can't read it at all. And he like sees that his whole hand is covered in ink, so he just slaps his hand on the thing to like stamp his handprint, signs the paper, does a salute, and faints. That's what he does for the test. While all of this is happening, Lister has like a cat in the closet that he's like keep taking care of in secret. He got this from a planet called Titan that they apparently passed recently, and the reason he's trying to keep it secret is because there are no pets allowed on Red Dwarf.
Wait. They
Okay.
said they were alone in the universe. How did a cat get on Titan?
Well, there are like other animals and stuff. The cat wasn't from Titan. There's just another planet that people live on.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So, like, he got the cat from Titan, which is another planet, and, like, cats are not, or pets in general, are not allowed on the ship because they can, like, get into the background and mess with Holly. Like, yeah. So, he gets caught with a cat because he takes a photo of it and sends it to the ship's lab to have it developed.
Amazing plan.
Amazing plan.
Very cool.
So he gets called into the captain's office and is given like 2 options. He can either give the cat over to them and have it like dissected, or he can go into stasis for 18 months and lose like 18 months of pay. So because he's like trying to like raise as much money as possible, that's not a very desirable option. But he really wants to keep this cat because it's part of his plan to make it to Fiji. Like he wants to have a cat on the farm on Fiji.
Because there's no way he can find another one once he gets to Earth.
Well, I mean, he's fallen in love with this cat. I mean, you don't want your cat to die.
What?
What?
How long is he
Falling in love with cats now?
No, he's like,
Yes.
no, like, you know how, like
Was
that.
this cat propaganda? Get out of here.
I think I'm missing some details.
Okay, Jackson, your question?
I don't really have one. What the fuck is happening?
He found a cat on Titan.
He's
What the
really,
fuck is
he like,
Titan?
he just likes the
Just
cat.
a
He's
plant
not like
like that.
romantically interested in the cat.
They
He
just passed the planet. He picked up a cat, but they're not allowed to have cats on the ship.
And he got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So-
He's like hiding it.
So he
Alright.
decides to go into stasis for 18 months. That is like what he decides to do.
Oh, damn.
So he goes into stasis, and it's explained that like in stasis, you exist outside of time. Like time cannot penetrate the stasis field. So when you're in it, you're no longer in any moment in time. So by that logic, time can pass like instantly. Like you can go in there, and then like a billion gazillion years could pass, and you could walk out, and it could feel like a minute.
An entire whatever you
Whoa, is
said.
that important to the
Bazillion
plot in any way,
gazillion.
shape, or form?
Shut up, Ed.
He was never a math man.
So yeah, he goes into stasis, and then he comes out 3 million years later.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Yeah.
So
This is series 1.
this is series 1, yes. This is the very first episode of the show. Holly explains to Lister that he is the last remaining crew member alive on the ship. Everyone else has died.
I feel like something went wrong while he was in stasis.
Yeah. So apparently Lister, while Lister was in stasis, Rimmer was set to repair the ship's drive plate. And because Rimmer sucks at his job so bad, he messed it up entirely, and it caused a radiation leak on the ship, killing everyone. Everyone died except for Lister and also the cat on board. Yeah. Okay.
Why the cat?
So the cat was locked safely in the hole where was sealed from all the other radiation. So it was able to survive the radiation leak, but it was just alone on the ship.
You're telling me that there is... Okay, A, that the cat survived 3 million years of isolation,
Yeah.
and B, that no one else in the entire ship was isolated like that.
No one else on the ship.
Plot armor.
It's not... Okay.
That's plot armor.
Well, no one thought to, go into the hole to survive the radiation leak. And even if you did, you wouldn't be able to get...
The cat 3 million years old.
The cat did not survive to be 3 million years old. It died after, 14 years after the accident.
Okay, well, you said the cat was alive.
The cat was alive after the accident. It didn't survive 3 million years into the future.
Is that important
After the
at all?
accident.
Why you said the cat was...
Yes, it is important because Frankenstein, the name of the cat, I never mentioned that the name of the cat was Frankenstein, was pregnant when she went into the hole.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that, yeah. So, after she gave birth, her cats had cats, and her kittens had kittens, and their kittens had
Incest
kittens.
cats.
Oh, yeah, incest cat.
Oh my god, 3 million years
And
of
they
cat
started a
sex.
whole species, a whole, society of cats just in the back of this ship.
Have they evolved to become cat people?
Yes, they are known as Felis sapiens. They're essentially humans, but with cat elements.
What?
Cat boy's real?
Cat boys are real, and we're about to meet the best cat boy of them all. His name is... He doesn't have a name, so
That's
people...
what that is?
People literally just call him Cat. He is obsessed with high fashion. He's always dressed up in the most extravagant clothes. One of the first... later on, we see him in white tiger print cloaks and golden tuxedos.
From
like
where, bro?
He's a fucking.
from what do you mean from where?
Okay, you know what? Never mind. You said like. Wait.
Question?
Give me that.
I knew they were gonna.
Okay. So never mind. I answered my own thing because you said Red Dwarf, the ship, was like the size of a city.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I guess he just travels around picking clothes off of like skeletons.
Well, remember they made a society, so they started making their own clothes.
Oh
and,
shoot,
like,
you're right.
Yeah, they had their own cultures. Well, they even had their own religion, and the cat religion is that, like, Cloister, the man who the Holy Father, Cloister, froze himself in time to save Frankenstein, the original cat.
Oh my god.
To start the entire cat race, which means Lister is god of the cat people. Alright.
Incredible.
Finally, because the ship can only store one hologram on it, Holly decides to start up Rimmer as Lister's hologram.
Why?
Thus the H on his forehead, because when you have an H on your forehead, that's to represent that you are a hologram. You're not a real person. You had a question? Could you repeat that?
I have several questions. I don't know why.
So go ahead and ask.
Okay, so first off, do the cat people have like farms and everything? Were they able to leave the back room?
They were able to leave the hole, but they were like stuck in the back of the ship, like in the supply pipes and stuff.
Okay, so not.
They never made it into the ship because it was still irradiated.
Is the radiation gone or is it still leaking?
The radiation is gone after Lister gets out of stasis, because he's specifically let out of stasis after the radiation returns to a safe level.
Ah. Okay.
So they never. It's not really specified if they ever if there was stories about don't go outside of the back of the ship because there's you'll die or whatever. But it's they survived as a society in the behind the walls of the ship.
And the ship is still in space.
It is not just in space. It is now 3 million years away from Earth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And from what? Okay, so you said it wasn't in the solar system, but it was still an easy travel back to Earth. I'm guessing they're going well beyond light speed.
They are not going. The ship does not. Okay, so the ship specifically has a light speed mode that it has to go at. We'll get to this in the next episode.
Okay.
But it's not moving at light speed. It's just moving at It's stated throughout the show how slow the ship is. It's not that fast. It's described as grandma truck speed, but it's still
3 million years is a long time.
3 million years plus however fast it goes is a long distance.
Compared to light speed, they could probably.
Compared to light speed, that is true, and we'll get to that.
Okay, so Earth is not 3 million light years away that it can't get down.
Yeah, it's just stated that they're 3 million years away from Earth, not 3 million light years from Earth.
Gotcha.
All right, any more questions, Jackson?
Yes.
Handed the mic.
I have a question
Yeah.
regarding the cat people.
Okay.
So you said they're called Felis Sapiens, right?
Felis
And
Sapiens.
you said Lister was the one who's basically the god of the cat people. Yes.
Yes.
So did him and Frankenstein fuck?
No.
Create the cat people.
No.
What?
Frankenstein was already pregnant when Lister found her.
No, but I'm saying, how did they become
3 million years of evolution.
3 million years of evolution. They just
All right.
evolved from cats. You know how we evolved from apes?
He's onto something.
Okay.
Oh, that's why
Wait, what are you guys doing?
If Lister fucked the cat, that would
No! Lister did not have sex with the cat.
Lister X
That has
Frankenstein
never been
hentai.
The
mentioned.
animal sex
ever
theme is
confirmed.
reoccurring in this lecture.
Is it ever confirmed that he didn't fuck the cat?
Oh my
Yes, it is.
It is. It's canon.
They had to specify he did not fuck
They
the
did
cat.
not specify. It's just he Okay, it is not specified that he didn't do it, but it's there's no implication that he did. So they're
Why?
what do you mean why?
They should have clarified this. It's bad
See,
story writing.
You
This is a
stuck in a
plot hole.
lose-lose scenario. No matter what, you're gonna talk about this,
Why are
aren't
there
you?
cat humans?
Jackson, the reason there are cat humans is because they evolved over the course of 3 million. You know how we evolved from apes?
That's a theory.
Yeah, the theory that we evolved from apes.
Then,
Right?
then the cat humans are a theory too.
Yeah, they evolved.
They're a
from cats.
figment of their imagination.
No,
That's what you're saying.
No, we know this to be true because Holly was on the ship for 3 million years.
So
and saw
Holly
this
fucked
happen.
them.
leave you all. No. Demerit.
Why is there cat humans?
They're just cat boys. Can we just get along? Like, they just
as you were saying.
Yeah.
So now, the 3 remaining crew members on this ship, Dave Lister, who is believed to be the last human being alive at this point, Arnold Rimmer, the ship's hologram, and Cat, who evolved from the ship's cat. These are the 3 people of the show. And at the end of, okay, so part of the cat religion is that they believe there's this fabled place that Cloister wants them to go to that is Fushile, which is actually Fiji. It was written as Fushile in the religion, and so after Lister
Who wrote this? Because he was in Stasis.
it is explained.
Okay.
Lister declares to Cat that he will get him back to Fiji, back to Earth. And then at the end of the episode, it's declared, look out, Earth, the slime's coming home. First episode, baby!
Oh, that was just episode 1, and
That was episode 1.
That took like half an hour.
That was just episode 1.
Don't worry, we're gonna go speed mode through this, okay?
Let's go M speed.
M speed. Okay, so episode 2, Future Echoes. So remember your question about the ship going in light speed?
Yes.
The ship has the ability to go through light speed. However, it is very difficult to do so. Even though the AI on the ship has an IQ of 6,000, it is still very difficult to drive at light speed because by the time you see something, you've already gone through it.
Yeah.
So Holly has to prepare a lot to go into light speed. So this episode starts off with Holly just preparing to do that. And then all of a sudden, on accident, he starts up the light drive or the faster FTL drive. He starts going at light speed before he's fully prepared for it. So all of a sudden, they're moving at light speed, right?
Okay.
And then as they're moving at light speed, Lister is shaving in the mirror in his bunk.
Continue. No, I don't have a question yet.
So as Lister is shaving, he's looking in the mirror and he sees himself cut himself, but he didn't actually cut himself, right?
Huh?
On his shaving thing, he accidentally grazed his chin and cut into himself, but he didn't actually do that. So he starts freaking out, why is there an image on the mirror of me bleeding, even though I'm not bleeding? And then all of a sudden, he accidentally cuts himself in his panic and starts panicking even more.
Future mirror.
Future echoes. The idea is that now that you're moving faster than light, you're moving so fast that you're coming up to your future. You're already meeting your future before it happens.
Whoa, is this like King Crimson?
Yes.
Yeah!
Exactly. Yeah. It is King Crimson. That's not going to be the only Stan reference we make in this.
Yeah!
Whoa!
So basically, what happens after that is that Rimmer sees what he thinks to be Lister in the pilot seat dying.
Oh.
He explodes and screams, and it lasts a long time.
Oh.
And so the entire episode is Lister trying to prevent the inevitable future that he will die.
Jesus Christ.
So
This got really dark from cat people.
cat boys, yeah.
Cat boys to exploding in the drive.
So the answer is that he didn't die. His son died. Eventually the ship is going so fast that they're meeting themselves from 100 years into the future, and they meet Lister, age 170, who's sitting at the bunk saying, "I know I can't see you, but you can see me. The person you saw die wasn't you, Lister. It was your son Bexley." And then Lister explains that he named his son Bexley after Jim Bexley Speed, who's an athlete in the series of Red Dwarf. He names his other son Jim after Jim Bexley Speed.
Who on Earth had the hots for Lester?
He didn't.
When did he, yeah, wait.
We don't know.
When did he fuck?
We do not know yet. He has. It is stated that he's not a virgin. He has fucked several times.
Okay, but
This is explicitly stated.
I can vibe with that.
And so Lister, Rimmer says, "How the heck did you have a kid on board? There's no female crew member." And Lister says, "I don't know, but it's gonna be a lot of fun finding out."
it's one of the cat. He's a cat boy hybrid. That's his son.
Finally!
Okay, third episode, Balance of Power. You guys over the Catboy thing?
No.
Furry Prince.
They've been talking about Catboys for freaking 10 minutes while I've been talking about them.
Yeah. So, Balance of Power. So because Rimmer is a neurotic, sort of stuck-up guy who's really obsessed with rank, he wants to outrank, he wants to control Lister because he's of a higher rank, and he wants Lister to do things like count how much irradiated haggis are on board, right? You have a question, Tyler? Oh, okay. So, because of that, in order to get Lister to actually obey him, Rimmer hides all the cigarettes on the ship. Because he can't touch anything, he has to get, like, the ship's scutters to do it. Right?
What are scutters?
They're just little robots on the ship that, like, do, like menial labor. They, like, sweep the ship and stuff, you know?
So not hard to get them to do it.
Yeah, they just do whatever you tell them to. They're programmed to do that. They're just like little like crow heads on wheels, I guess I'd describe it. They're like crane heads.
The entire time you're talking.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I didn't really think to like draw an image of them because they're not that important to the overall series, but they're like an iconic character, or they're like an iconic thing in the show. So, in order to get Lister to do stuff, Rimmer hides all the cigarettes on the ship, and because Lister like smokes and drinks and does all the cool stuff, he really needs a cigarette, so he has to do everything Rimmer says. And eventually, Lister gets fed up with this at the point where, like, because Rimmer didn't feel like he put in enough effort, he gives him like 4/5 of a cigarette one time. And so after that, Lister says he has enough. I'm going to take the astronavigation test, and I'm going to outrank you, Rimmer. And because you're so obsessed with rank, anything I say you will do. And if that happens, I can just ask you to deactivate yourself and switch yourself out with Kachansky.
Couldn't he?
Huh?
just
Who's
switch him
Kachansky?
out?
Wait.
Kachansky was the girl that Lister was obsessed with, that he wanted to start a farm on Fiji with.
Okay.
Yeah. So question?
Wait, I did.
Yeah, you asked. Yeah, right. You asked if like Lister could just switch out Rimmer's holodisc.
Yeah.
The thing is, Rimmer also hid all the holodiscs along with like the cigarettes and everything else he was bribing Lister with.
Couldn't Lister just ask the tiny robots to go get them?
No, because they're instructed by Rimmer not to tell him.
Oh, and that he outranks him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then like Kat eventually does find like the cigarettes and stuff, and then just tells Lister where they are during the whole events of this episode. By the way, I should mention, I didn't really mention much about Kat because he's sort of like the comedic relief of the show. He I mentioned that he like dresses up a lot. He wears like very like exotic, not exotic, but he like wears very good clothes. He's like very well dressed. But his thing is like, because he's a cat, he will walk around and like howl, like whoa, like stuff like that.
Cats don't do that.
I fucking hate this character. Wow.
He's one of my favorite characters on the show. Okay, question.
So Lester's love interest is dead, right?
Yes.
Is she a hologram?
She's not. She could be a hologram, but the ship can only sustain one hologram, and right now they're sustaining Rimmer.
Why is the ship not sustaining Lester's love interest, and why are they sustaining Rimmer, his like boss he
So
hates?
Lister does ask this question to Holly, and Holly responds that the most he ever talked to a person on the ship was with Rimmer. They exchanged the most amount of words out of anybody else on the ship. And Holly also responds by saying, "Hell is being locked in a room with your friends." So the big reason why Rimmer is revived is because they hate each other, so they'll keep Lister sane. So because like this conflict is happening, Lister will like be more sane about it. Like he won't go insane.
So the ship's AI intentionally revives someone he doesn't like, so there will be conflict to keep him sane.
Yes.
It's plot.
It's not plot armor, dude.
Yeah,
it's
not...
psychology.
Sorry for
And-
derailing. I just needed to understand.
No, that's fine.
If Lister were to switch them out, would the AI switch them back?
The AI wouldn't. I don't. Because Lister does try to switch them out, and it's not stated if Holly would do that or not.
Okay.
So, Lister goes to take the astronavigation test, or at least he tells Rimmer that he's doing that. What he's actually doing is he's taking the chef's exam. Because if he becomes a chef, he still outranks Rimmer, and it's much easier to become a chef than a navigational officer. So he basically has to he just takes tests where he bakes a cake and stuff, and it was supposed to be roast beef, but he messed up so bad he made a cake.
Oh my god.
And then Kat is eating his food and really enjoying it, so it's not that bad.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One. Why does he have to take this exam if everyone on the ship is dead?
Because Rimmer still outranks him and is hiding all the stuff on the ship. So if Lister outranks Rimmer, Lister can make Rimmer give him all the stuff because he's so
Okay.
obsessed with rank.
Also, how the fuck did he do that? How did he turn roast beef into a cake?
I don't know. It's just stated he comes into.
It's like in Breath of the Wild where if you fuck up, like your food, it just automatically
Throw
turns
like some
into.
goblin eye.
Yeah, it's like
Bird's
that.
toes.
Yeah,
Some
he
cum.
just
You know what I
walks
mean?
he just walks into the living quarters and shows off the cake he baked, and everyone's impressed. And it's like, hey, it's not that impressive. It was supposed to be roast beef.
Why would he say that?
What a cock.
Cause he's an honest guy.
He's an honest guy.
What?
No, nothing.
Wait. I have a question.
Okay.
Does the show have a laugh track?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
It has a laugh track.
That's spectacular.
Were you messing with my hair?
I was messing with your hair.
That was a very important question. I'm glad
I was
you asked
wondering.
that.
Because like, is this all happening in like
It
the
doesn't go down.
silent void, or is there like canned laughter?
There is canned laughter in
Okay.
this show. Yes.
Oh my god.
I
So
think that's the crew that died.
Oh my god. You're laughing at them.
no, they're laughing. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's my headcanon for this show now.
Rimmer's job now is to try and prevent Lister from taking the test, because if he takes the test, he'll probably pass it, and outrank Rimmer, right? So Rimmer tries to get Lister to not take the test, and eventually he gets so desperate about this that he changes his image, or his hologrammatic projection. He's still Rimmer, but he changes his projected image to be Kachansky, walks in during the test and tells Lister, I do not love you. You suck. I would literally date anyone but you.
Wow.
So
What a
yeah,
cocksucker.
this shreds up Lister's heart. Like he starts like debating whether or not it's worth living after hearing this. And then Rimmer just messes up after that and says like one of his catchphrases, up the ziggurat, lickety split.
What the fuck? Huh?
And then Lister picks up on it that it's just Rimmer and tells him to go away. And so he finishes the test. He picks up the exam. Rimmer asks how Lister did, and then Lister responds, how did I do, Mr. Lister, sir? He didn't pass the test at all. He was just pretending that he did. All right, next episode, Waiting for God. So what were our questions about the cat people again? Because this episode is all about the cat people.
Ooh, cat lore.
Cat lore time. So, about the cat's religion. Yeah, okay. About the cat's religion. They had, what is it called? They had a lot of religious texts, since the only writing Lister left was like his laundry list and stuff. They were going and making their religion based off of that. So like, I forgot if it wasn't their commandments or something. They had like a list of like things, and it was like 2 socks, 1 jacket, stuff like that.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, along with that, a lot of the sins of the cat religion are, like, sort of based off of, like, things Lister would write. Like, what the first sin that's stated is, it is a sin to be cool. And, like, another, like, Lister mentions, he broke all of the sins except for one, and the only reason he didn't is because there's not a sheep on board.
What was the rule regarding this ship?
We don't know. That's all that's stated about the rule.
all know.
We all know.
Too.
I think.
Well, okay, earlier in the show, in episode 1, remember when he mentioned he wanted to go to Fiji, get a sheep and a cow, and breed horses?
yes.
It's believed that the sin is that you cannot breed a sheep with a cow.
Interest.
Like, because people interpret that him saying that as him breeding horses from a sheep and a cow. Not breeding horses with horses, but making horses by breeding sheep and cow.
So the cat people are dumb as hell.
A bit? Like, cat specifically is dumb, but the rest of the cat people aren't. They just didn't have anything else to go off of but this writing that Lister left.
And they didn't realize that these were just the ravings of a madman.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Welcome to religion.
if God left us one document from billions of years ago, and instead of the Bible it was a laundry list, where would we be?
Yeah,
God.
that would be
Fair
insane.
point.
Look where we are with the Bible.
Yeah. So there was a cat war that happened in the background of the ship between the people who thought the hat should be red and the people who thought the hats should be blue. They're like religious caps that they wore. One believed they should be red, the other believed they should be blue. They fought over it, and eventually they got so fed up with each other that they got on separate like landing ships on Red Dwarf and flew out to try and find Fuchile. Separately. I should also mention that the Red Dwarf, is this giant city-sized ship, but because like you shouldn't like just land that anywhere because it's really slow, they have 2 landing ships. So if anyone wants to go to a specific planet, they just go to a landing ship and fly there. So you have Starbug, which is like probably like the medium-sized landing ship. It's like the size of a like a little small apartment building or something. It's sort of like Jackson mentioned earlier. It was like the shape of a snowman, right?
Yeah.
That's because it has like a 3-tier sort of system.
What?
So the first head is the cockpit, right?
What is that again? I'm sorry.
That is Starbug. That is one of the landing ships on Red Dwarf.
Starbug.
Why does it look like that?
I'm about to actually get into that. There's a good answer.
Really?
Yes.
Get into the architectural build of snowman. Okay.
Hold up.
Okay.
These landing ships are gone, right?
These landing ships are still on Red Dwarf.
Oh, so the cats took 2 different ones?
They took, there's several different Starbugs and several different blue midgets on board. They took just 2 of them.
Oh, these are classes of ships, not ships themselves.
Yes.
Blue midgets?
If we keep asking questions like this, we're never gonna get through the lecture.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yes, okay, so the first ship, Starbug, right? This went into like a 3-tier system. The first head is the cockpit, right? This is where people are driving. This is like the living quarters in the middle, and at the very end is like the cargo bay, right? The blue midget is the smallest one. It's like the size of this room, I guess I'd say. And it's like there's nothing else special aside from the cockpit in it. Now, in the books, they talk about 2 other landing ships: White Midget, which is even smaller than Blue Midget, and then White Giant, which is just like the biggest landing ship of them all. But neither of these show up in the show. So, I mean, other stuff happens in the episode. They find like the only remaining cat member that was like. Okay, so Cat was left behind from the other 2 people that had left because his father was a jelly brain who ate his own feet, and like his parents were idiots, and he grew up to be an idiot.
Or
like literally, he ate his own feet.
ate his own feet. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So they just left him behind, and the only other person they left behind was this really old cat that was like blind and was starting to lose his faith in the religion. So like while he's dying, like in the back of the ship, Lister finds him and like tells him like, "Hey, I'm giving you an A+ on existence. You did a good job, dude. You did everything you should have done, and you're going to Fushile." And then he regains his faith in his religion immediately before he dies. So aside from Cat, every other member of the cat race has left Red Dwarf and has gone somewhere else we don't know where. Okay. Confidence and Paranoia is the next episode. So basically Lister catches space pneumonia, and because pneumonia has evolved over the course of 3 million years, it basically, when you get space pneumonia, your hallucinations become solid. So anything you think, like, so first of all, Lister hallucinates like fish raining.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. So if you hallucinate something, it becomes real.
This is a super.
So while you're sick, you're hallucinating.
Yeah.
Scan ability.
No, but he's sick. So
It literally becomes real.
it literally becomes
This
real.
is a stand ability.
No,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
it's not like
it's like fucking weather.
It's like heavy weather. Let me explain. It's not that like you can imagine something and it becomes real, but while you're sick, you start hallucinating, and then those hallucinations become real. So you can't actually control what comes out.
That doesn't make it any less of a
Yeah.
superpower.
Well, it's only that you like. It's less like it's this superpower in the same way that like 5 from Umbrella Academy has a superpower that she can't control. Right?
Yeah, but
It's
if
heavy weather.
If he accidentally hallucinates that Rimmer is alive and well,
then Rimmer would come back to life.
That's
or there would be
bullshit.
at least be a hallucinated
for
version of
real?
Rimmer. Yes.
That's so fucking OP.
That's busted. Yeah.
So shit.
Like altering reality like that.
It's gonna get worse. What? So Lister hallucinates. So after that, Lister hallucinates 2 people: his confidence and his paranoia,
Oh, no.
personified as people. So his confidence is characterized as like a game show host kind of guy that's like, "Hey, you're dead sexy and everybody loves you." And his paranoia hangs out with Rimmer and tells him about all the embarrassing stuff Lister does, like how he would snork his own hand.
I don't want to know.
Snorking.
It just means kiss. It's
What's
the
the-
British slang for kiss.
they-
People speak normal now.
Let us commence forth. British. Red Dwarf fans might not like this lecture too much.
Red Dwarf fans aren't real.
I'm here. I'm standing right here. And I'm the last American Red Dwarf fan alive.
You're a super pneumonia hallucination.
yeah.
So, okay, so Lister's confidence helps him figure out, one, how the ship can sustain 2 holograms instead of just 1, and 2, where Rimmer hid the holodisc. So he gets the plan that he can just, like, bring up Kachansky as a hologram now that he has this information without getting rid of Rimmer. So it's a win-win.
How can it sustain 2 holograms if it couldn't when everyone was alive?
If you shut off all the auxiliary power and go into, like, just emergency battery mode, there will be enough power on the ship to power another hologram.
So it's not smart.
I mean, they'll still be alive. The ship will still be running. It's
How
just
long?
It's stated like it's not a big deal. So I'm assuming it's not a big deal. Like it's just like the lights in the rest of the city just go off.
Oh, lights that they're not using.
Yeah. So he gets this plan and he goes out to find the holodisc, and Confidence is trying to convince him that he's literally invincible, that you can just take your helmet off in space and be fine. And Lister obviously doesn't do this, so to prove to Lister that he can do this, Confidence does it himself, and that's how Confidence dies. And then before this, Confidence kills Paranoia in the background, and then like also destroys the FTL drive or something, I think. I forgot exactly, but like he destroys something else on the ship. Pretty much as soon as I said this, I knew I'd have to make an addendum on it. So for clarification, Confidence did not destroy the FTL drive. In fact, the FTL drive isn't even named in the series. I think they see like a star drive or something later on, but that's not important to this lecture. What actually happened is that Confidence destroyed the medical unit, because if Lister couldn't get better, Confidence would stay there and not disappear or whatever. So that's what actually happened. Hope that clears things up. That was somewhat important. Okay, so Lister now has all the ship's holodiscs that Rimmer hit, and he's about to bring Kachansky back. Rimmer tells him, "This is a bad idea. You should not do this. Trust me, dude." Lister doesn't listen to him, does it anyways. And as it turns out, Rimmer thought ahead and switched out the holodiscs. So now, instead of Kachansky, he brings up a second Rimmer.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
Can't
you
you
thought
just
that
take
was
out the holodisc?
well, that would just deactivate the hologram, which would be like killing a person. So it's immoral to do that.
But it's Rimmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck Rimmer.
I mean, it's in the next episode. It's mentioned that the reason he doesn't do that. Well, later on he figures out this is a good thing, but like it's suggested that the reason he doesn't do this is because like it's to them it's like they're dying, so it's sort of immoral to do that.
Okay.
But it was implied that earlier he was going to do that to Rimmer to change him out with Kachansky, so I don't know. Anyways, Me Squared, final episode of season 1. We're almost at the end of this part of the show.
Oh my god.
I don't think we're gonna get through all this.
I'm gonna like speed through a lot of this because not all of this is as dense as
You
these
said
two
that an hour
seasons.
ago.
Are we really at an hour in?
Something like that.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet. You said it almost.
All right, so Me Squared. I'm gonna like go through this in speed mode because not much is important about this. Basically, Rimmer. I need to get a drink. Basically, Rimmer decides to move out of Lister's quarters and into his own with Rimmer. So he's living with himself, and Lister finally gets to live alone, which is great because he doesn't have anyone to complain about how slobby he is. Meanwhile, Rimmer is living with himself, which is great because he's finally living with someone who understands him. Except that because he's always like pushing himself to do better, they keep on pushing each other, and so eventually it becomes like a very abusive relationship where they're trying to get each other to wake up earlier and like do more exercises and stuff. I should mention that yes, holograms do exercises. They're called necrobics. And
So they have bodies that they take care of.
Well, they don't really take care of their bodies.
It
It's just to like.
matter, does it? 'Cause they
It
can't
doesn't
touch-
really matter at all. It's just like a form of exercise for the dead.
Okay. Does it affect them at all?
I mean, it might change their mood. It might make them feel better. I don't know. It's just Rimmer does that because he exercised when he was alive, so he does that now when he's dead, even though it doesn't do anything for him.
Cool.
So Rimmer eventually annoys himself so much that they're just like not really pranking each other, but just like being extremely rude to each other. Like they're at a cinema and they'll just keep on sitting in front of each other so they can't see the screen until eventually they just give up and go like, okay, Lister, you have to shut off one of us. You have to shut off him, and they point at each other, right? So Lister like decides at random which Rimmer to get rid of, and like it's just it's one of the Rimmers, and they're like all of a sudden like they're realizing they're going to die, and so Lister says, okay, like like later on, I want you in the captain's office or whatever, not the captain's office, but in like the pilot place, whatever, and we're gonna meet up, and we're gonna have your final words, and then I'm gonna show off your holodisc. The B plot of this episode is basically after Rimmer moves from Lister's office, or from Lister's like living quarters. He's sort of, he finds like Rimmer's eulogy to himself, where he documents how he died, and Rimmer steps up in front of the captain of the ship. The captain scolds him for not repairing the drive plate properly. Then the radiation leak hits, and Rimmer's last words were gazpacho soup.
Beautiful.
I know.
Gazpacho.
So, Lister's big question throughout the show... Yeah, Lister's big question throughout this episode is, why were Rimmer's last words gazpacho soup?
Because that's so, smash.
So, as Lister is asking Rimmer on his last words, he asks him, why were your last words before gazpacho soup when you died? Rimmer explains a story about how he was invited to the captain's table and he ordered gazpacho soup, but he did not know that gazpacho soup was meant to be served cold. So he asked for the ship to return it piping hot, and all the other people at the captain's table looked grossed out and disgusted, and Rimmer takes this to believe the reason he didn't become an officer was because he didn't know gazpacho soup was meant to be served cold.
Yep, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So he blames his whole like failing on the fact that not once did they mention in his training that gazpacho soup was meant to be served cold. Because if he did know that, then they wouldn't have been disgusted. He would have probably impressed them, and then he would have become an officer. Lister explains after Rimmer tells all this to Lister explains that he shut off the other guy while he was leaving. Well, he shut off the other guy while he was talking about all this. So Rimmer, is still alive, and he just bore his heart out about, his, last moments to Lister. And then is no, you're gonna, make fun of me for my entire existence, for all eternity. You're going to, you're never gonna let me forget this. And then Lister's like, I would not do that. That's not the kind of person I am. And then Rimmer's like, okay, well, you're kind of a good person. And Lister responds, super, and that's the end of the season.
Super. Yeah.
All right, we're on to season 2, guys. Are you excited?
Almost.
Yeah. All right, Crichton, first episode. So they get a distress call from a ship that has crashed nearby called the Nova 5. The only surviving members are 3 women and the ship's mechanoid, Crichton.
Oh boy.
So because they literally it should be. I should also mention that it's implied that between series 1 and series 2, 2 years have passed or something like that. So, they haven't seen a woman in 2 years, and they're getting really excited about this.
In real life, how long was it in between Series 1 and Series 2?
1 year. This came out in 1988, this came out in 1989.
So this is still the same show, same network, all
Yeah, everything's the same, it's just the second season of the
just
show.
British people call it...
Series.
Again, British people
That's
speak normal
disgusting.
challenge.
I call them seasons, because I'm an American, you know? So, they all, Lister, Cat, and Rimmer all get prepared to go out and meet a woman finally. They're all getting dressed up.
Did they ever put a second hologram back on?
No, they just after Rimmer gets shut off, they just forget that whole idea.
Oh, cool.
It just gets thrown out. So, they all sort of get prepared. They go out to the Nova 5 and they arrive there and they see that the 3 women are all skeletons. They're all dead.
Oh.
So the problem is Crichton was never programmed to recognize when a person is alive or dead, so he's been taking care of skeletons for 3 million years.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah. And so they try to explain to him that these people are dead. They have passed on. You have to leave this past behind you. And then Crichton has trouble doing this, but he does it. And then the rest of the episode is Rimmer tries to get Crichton to become this is Crichton, by the way, over here. He becomes a main character later. Rimmer tries to convince Crichton, okay, you're a computer, so we'll keep you busy by giving you all the chores on the ship. You'll be taking care of this whole city-sized ship. And then Lister says, hey, I know you're a robot, but you have dreams, right? Why don't you go pursue them? And so eventually Lister wins out, and then Crichton gets on a bike and then leaves the Red Dwarf.
Bike.
Like a space bike.
Okay.
Like a space motorcycle.
So the AI leaves the ship?
No, Crichton leaves the
AI
ship.
is Holly. Not.
Holly is the AI. Oh, I almost forgot to mention this, but at some point in the future, they figure out how to make AI sentient. it's sort of suggested that there's a bit of organic material mixed into it to make them sentient, but like Crichton is sentient. He's just programmed to serve.
So Crichton is like an android on the ship they found that's been taking care of people.
Yeah. Holly is sentient. He's just been stuck for 3 million years and has gone senile. This is an idea known as computer senility or just droid rot, where if a computer who is sentient is left for a long amount of time, they don't really break their programming, but they just sort of go insane because they are part, like, organic. They are part sentient. Right. So that's the end of Crichton. Better than life. So the mail pod for the ship finally arrives after 3 million years, which is supposedly standard for second-class post. Rimmer gets a letter that his father died from his mom. Which, like, in the past, like 3 million years ago, these letters are finally arriving. So they're all letters from people from the past that are just now arriving.
Did they turn the Red Dwarf around?
Yeah, they're heading back to Earth right now.
Okay, so the letters were just moving, but the Red Dwarf was also moving.
Yeah, it didn't turn around until Lister woke up.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Rimmer gets a letter that his father has died, and he doesn't know how to handle this because his father was abusive, but like, you know, he's your dad. So he's just having a problem passing this on. And then the second thing they find in the mail pod is a new AR game called Better Than Life. Basically, it's a game where you can go into it and anything you imagine becomes real, and you can just live your fantasies. Like, Kat gets, like, 2 girlfriends. One is Marilyn Monroe. I was about to say Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe. And the other one is, like, a mermaid. Half woman, half fish. But she's a fish at the top and women at the bottom.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Rimmer gets into this and starts having fun with it as well. He's finally taking his mind off of everything. But eventually his brain starts rebelling because he can't convince himself that good things can happen to him, so he starts just like imagining horrible things in this game. So he has a wife and like 12 kids. They're all in like a minivan and he's like completely trashed. Like everything is going horrible for him. He's broke in this game. And so Lister is trying to help him out, like, listen, I'll imagine you something nice. And then Rimmer keeps imagining that stuff go away. And he starts imagining the rest of them in a horrible situations, which ruins the game for them. And that's generally the episode. Everyone now hates Rimmer because of that. Or they're mad at Rimmer because of that, but they give it over in the next episode. What?
Fuck Rimmer.
Rimmer's a very deep character, but he sucks, and I
feel like they could have just gone into the game without Rimmer.
They wanted to cheer Rimmer up because he was still like upset about his father and stuff. So next episode, thanks for the memory. It's Rimmer's death day, and so they decide to celebrate the day Rimmer died by like with Rimmer. Everyone, it's like a birthday, but it's like another day. But
yay!
Yeah, and so they're celebrating the day that he died, right? By what do they do? Yeah, they just sort of like get drunk and party and stuff. And while Rimmer is drunk, Rimmer decides to tell Lister about the one time he had sex. He tells him, I only had sex once, and it was with Yvonne Magruder. It lasted 12 minutes, and that includes the time it took to eat the pizza. Jackson, I love your face every time.
Can we get an explanation for the pizza?
No, that's all he says about the pizza. Yeah, so Rimmer's technically not a virgin, but that's the only time he's ever had sex. And he sort of laments about this because Lister had all sorts of friends. Everybody loved Lister, despite the fact that he was like a messy, slobby, gross guy that never pursued any like position. Where Rimmer was like very neat and kept himself organized, but he never had any friends. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the basic idea of what, like, that's what happens. And then like Rimmer goes to bed that day saying, I would have traded everything I earned in life to love and to be loved back.
Well, yeah. Damn.
The next day they wake up, Rimmer immediately regrets ever telling him about the one time he had sex and is like, haha, wasn't that funny? Wasn't that joke I told you funny? Lister wakes up with a broken leg along with the cat.
Why?
They don't know. They go through like the ship's logs and the last 4 days are missing. The black box of the ship is gone. They lost the last 4 days somehow and they don't know how. But they find a tracker for the black box and decide to head after it. It's on a moon somewhere or an asteroid or something, and they go over to it. And the black box is buried in a pit with like a tombstone that says to the memory of Lisa Yates. Lister remarks that Lisa Yates was one of his girlfriends. What happened was that after Lister heard Rimmer was so upset about never having been loved, decides to goes to the holosuite and gives Rimmer some of his memory of when he had a girlfriend. So basically gives Rimmer one of his old girlfriends. And Rimmer remembers this all as if it happened, in his life.
Wait, so Rimmer's memory of having sex was Lester's, or?
Well, not the one with Yvonne Magruder, but Lisa Yates, yes.
Okay.
That didn't actually happen. Lister makes Rimmer think that he was loved at that point in his life. And so Rimmer wakes up very ecstatic about it, but he starts trying to remember it all clearly, and there's a lot of inconsistencies, like how he had his appendix out twice, stuff like that. So yeah, eventually Rimmer pieces together that this didn't actually happen. Lister just faked the memory of it. And Rimmer is so humiliated by this that he tells Lister, we have to erase everyone's memory on the ship, we have to delete the last 4 days, and we have to get rid of the black box. And so they do that. And while Lister and Kat are going to, bury the black box on an asteroid, they're carrying, a tombstone to it to memorialize it, but Lister accidentally drops it, and it falls on both of their feet. So that's how their legs are broken. Yep. Next episode, Stasis Leak. They find a Stasis Leak. Yeah, okay. I mean, there's more to it, where I guess the real important... Okay, so a Stasis Leak is where, a point in time is leaking out of stasis, so, so they can go back to before the radiation leak happened by going into stasis, right? Or going through the stasis field. So in doing this, they can't bring anyone back, but they can go back in time and try and convince someone to go into the stasis pod and sort of stay there while the radiation leak happens to save them. Lister wants to save Kachansky by doing this. Rimmer wants to save himself by doing this. Rimmer fails because his past self thinks he's just going insane when he sees a hologram of himself coming up telling him to go into stasis. Lister finds out that Kachansky is already married by the time he finds him to himself. Lister has gone back in time to marry Kachansky, presumably, and yeah, so he meets his past self, who's now married to Kachansky, and states he asks for some advice for the future, and he responds you're about to, in 5 years time you'll go see a movie, whatever it is, don't pick Run for Your Wife. Alright, the next episode, Queeg, Holly is upset that none of them are appreciating him enough, so he swaps himself out for a different version of himself that is more authoritative but better at his job. That's basically the conflict of the episode. And then finally, Parallel Universe. We're almost at the end of season 2. Isn't that good? Woo! Woo!
Season 2.
Zoom.
Woo! Okay. So Holly figures out how to make a drive that can just teleport the ship back to Earth. He calls it the Holly Hop Drive. They can just go back to Earth in nanoseconds, right? So Holly sets this all up, and he uses it, and he messes it up somehow, and instead of appearing in front of Earth, they appear in front of another red dwarf. It apparently has traveled to another universe, and in this universe, the genders of everybody are swapped. So men are women, women are men. And so Lister, Rimmer, both meet their female counterparts, while Cat meets a dog, because that's the counterpart for animals, is that they just swap animals.
So cat people don't have genders?
Cat people have genders.
Is it a woman dog?
It is a male dog, yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No, so Lister and Rimmer have female opposites, but instead of cat people having female cat people, they're just dog people in this universe.
So they just don't see gender?
No, they see gender. There are gendered things in cats. It's just in this alternate universe.
I'm done.
Let me try to explain this.
There's an alternate universe where cat people never
So
existed.
instead of male Lister going into stasis to save his cat, female Lister goes into stasis to save her dog.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. that's the basic difference there. And so the whole episode is like they're meeting each other and they're meeting their female counterparts and they're really disgusted by them because they're actually like really like disgusting people, and so they're both very uncomfortable with their female counterparts. Yeah. And so near the end of the episode, Lister gets drunk and has sex with his female counterpart.
Of course.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. So Lister has sex with his female counterpart. And
can holograms touch each other?
Holograms can touch each other. That is specifically stated there. So they don't have sex. Rimmer's so afraid of his female counterpart that he like hides out in another place to sleep, away from her. So meanwhile, the two Listers had sex, and then the female counterpart of Rimmer remarks that he hopes Lister gets pregnant, male Lister, because in this universe it's the men that get pregnant. And because they're in their universe, their laws apply. So Lister is now pregnant. And remember all the way in Series 1 when we mentioned like Lister had kids and they were asking how that happened?
No.
They're twins. He gives birth to twins.
I hate you.
Alright, that's the end of the episode. He gives birth to twins.
Good. Alright everyone, welcome back.
Woo! Red Dwarf! Red Dwarf! Red Dwarf!
Get on with it.
It's not 20 pages, you lied.
Red Dwarf.
No, I took like a shorthand notes. My original notes were 20 pages and then I shorted them out so I could carry them here. So I wasn't bringing a binder to this class.
You're the teacher.
So, between Season 2 and Season 3, there's sort of like a gap between these two seasons, or series, or whatever. And so I decided to sort of split this whole lecture into arcs. So we just got through the first arc of the show. The second arc is just where it becomes more like Star Trek, and then it sort of becomes like a thing where it's just like conflict resolution, sort of. Like, now they're in real danger. So there are three big things that happen between Series 2 and Series 3. One is Dave Lister gives birth to twins, but because they're from a parallel universe, Lister has to like bring them back to their original universe because they're not like doing well in they're like aging really fast for some reason, so he brings them back to their original universe, so that won't happen. The second thing is that Crichton is found like crashed after he crashed the bike on like a moon somewhere. So they rescue him, they repair him, but because his personality chip or something was destroyed, they had to replace it with a new one. So Crichton's personality was reset to factory setting. You know, right? Third thing. Most importantly, Holly, while in the alternate universe where they were female opposites, met his female opposite named Hilly and was so infatuated with her that he changed his image into Hilly. He's still Holly. He still goes by Holly, but he now looks like Hilly, or she looks like Hilly because Holly is trans. Yeah! And I'm removing any demerits you had before.
I didn't have any. Cool.
Okay, cool.
And just
so,
like that, we have more questions about cat girls than we do trans robots.
Trans robots straightforward.
Straightforward. I don't know.
I've not seen any cat girls though.
Yeah, there are cat girls in the show, but we don't meet them for a long ass time. It's like right here, I think we meet a cat girl.
Dang.
Yeah. But they're all cat. We have a cat boy, so we're all good, right?
Yeah,
okay.
He hasn't even been doing anything. Where the fuck is he?
He's the comedic relief for this whole show. So, like, in the episode where, like, Lister got space pneumonia and passed out, like, Cat was just eating food and would not help him because he's a cat. He doesn't help people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he would make jokes like Rimmer's like, the monkey, ooh, has passed out, I need help, and it's like, and interrupt my meal? What? So, yeah. So we're going to speed through these next couple arcs, because this next arc is essentially just Crichton is now on the crew, and they're doing like Star Trek-esque conflicts. So the next episode, backwards, they find a time hole that leads back to Earth, but Earth is running in reverse. It's a different Earth that's running in reverse, rather.
Like reverse in what way?
Like you people walk backwards,
oh,
they take change from beggars. Like people will spring to life from graveyards and then be unborn.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
oh
it's
god.
So basically they go over there, they see it, and then they leave, and that's the episode. The next episode, Marooned, is pretty important. So Holly finds like 5 different black holes that she just sort of didn't notice until just now. They're in front of like 5 different black holes, and she has to navigate this city-sized ship around them. So she decides, in order to protect the rest of the crew, Rimmer and Lister will get into Starbug, fly out. Cat and Crichton will get into Blue Midget, fly out, and then they'll both like rendezvous on a desert moon or whatever. So while they're doing this, like Holly is going to fly through the black holes, and if she doesn't make it, then they'll at least be alive. So that's cool. Except Lister and Rimmer crash into a snow planet on their way there and get marooned on it.
They're dumb
See?
shits.
They said it. So, yeah, the problem is there's not really much food on Starbug. So although Rimmer doesn't eat, Lister has to. So he has to like keep food and like save food up. The other thing is that because they're on a snow planet, things are really cold, like below freezing. So Lister has to keep a fire up. Now, the only stuff that is on the ship, Lister brought his guitar and Rimmer brought like his possessions that were in like sort of a camphor wood box. Like he has like rare 14th century like wooden dolls and stuff in there. So a lot of his like personal possessions that he brought that he can't live without, right? This is the only stuff they have to burn for the fire now. And so first Lister convinces Rimmer to burn like the money he brought because that's worthless now. Next, Lister tries to convince Rimmer to like burn the books that he brought, but there might be like the last like remaining copies of those books in the universe. So like he's burning like William Shakespeare and like Biggles Learns to Fly and stuff like that. Important literature that he's just going to cast to the flames to keep his mitts warm. And then eventually Rimmer allows this to happen, but then that's out of fire. So next he's talking about burning his wooden dolls. And then Rimmer panics so much that he remembers, hey Lister, you brought your guitar on board ship. You could just burn that. And then Lister like won't do it because it's the last thing he has from Earth that is in his possession. It's like all he has left in the middle of the universe is the last human alive. It's his only escape. Rimmer eventually convinces Lister to do it, but Lister wants to play one last song on his guitar. Rimmer leaves because it turns out Lister's really bad at guitar. He's awful at it. This is a recurring theme: is that Lister can't play guitar. Everyone hates his music.
He's the best guitar player in the universe right now.
He is the best guitar player in the universe right now, but he's like literally terrible at it. He sucks. And so he plays a song, Rimmer leaves, and while Rimmer is gone, Lister hides the guitar in the cabinet, cuts out in Rimmer's like camphor wood chest, like a guitar-shaped piece of wood, breaks that and puts that in the fire instead. Rimmer walks in not noticing that the fire is from his chest and thinks it's from the guitar, and this is the first time in the series where Rimmer actually looks up to Lister. He's actually impressed that he made such a sacrifice that he wants to burn his wooden dolls just out of principle. Like, I won't feel like I've done nearly as much unless we burn these wooden dolls. Lister's trying to stop him because he knows he just burned his chest, not the guitar. But eventually Rimmer succeeds and they burn it anyways. Cat and Crichton arrive to save them, and then at the end of the episode, while Rimmer's talking to them about how great of a man Lister is, he pulls the guitar out of the cabinet and just walks away. Rimmer, realizing what just happened, asks Crichton to open the trunk, looks inside, sees a guitar-shaped cut in it. So fun. Polymorph. So they meet a polymorph aboard the ship. It is a genetically engineered being created by people that can like change into any other shape. So it can change into like anything. Name a thing and it can change into it, right?
Dildo.
It can change into it. I don't think it actually does in the series, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did at some point.
Yeah.
So they meet a polymorph. The big thing about polymorphs is that they live off of emotion, so they eat human emotions to survive.
Any emotion?
Any emotion, it can eat it. But the stronger the emotion, the more appetizing it is, and the more it sustains them. So the polymorph goes around like making Rimmer angry, making Crichton guilty, making Cat very vain.
Wait, why does Crichton count? He's a robot.
He's sentient, remember?
Oh, cool.
They're all the machinery is sentient.
Holly counts as well then?
Holly, she is sentient, yes. Yeah. So, I forgot what. Oh yeah, Lister was fear. So he loses his fear. Rimmer loses his anger. Cat loses his vanity, and Crichton loses his guilt. And they sort of have to fight the polymorph without these emotions. Next episode, no. Body swap, sorry. In a long-about way that I'm going to skip over because I'm trying to keep this lecture brief, Crichton figures out a way how he can swap Lister and Rimmer's mind. And Rimmer wants to do this because he has not eaten food in like 3 million years. So he kind of wants to feel what it's like to eat food and do stuff. And he tells Lister, I can get your body fit, I can make you healthier, because I have this strict regimen that I keep to, and I can do that with your body and get you back into shape. Lister eventually agrees, and then Rimmer like porks out because he's never had food in like 3 million years. And so he's just eating food the whole time, making Lister even less healthy, and then like that's the conflict of the episode. Time slides. So Crichton figures out a way to develop photos so that they become portals to the time and place where the photo was taken. Because it's not that he discovered it, it's more like the photo developing process, the chemicals sort of mutated to let this happen. So Lister comes up with the idea that he can go back in time to when he was like he has a photo of himself when he was like 18 at a playing at a concert with like singing, and he can go back in time and convince his younger self, don't go to the Red Dwarf, instead invent the tension sheet, which is a sheet of bubble wrap that is painted red and just has the word tension sheet on it. One of Rimmer's old like roommates, like Thicky Holden, invented, like he calls him Thicky Holden, I don't remember his actual name. Thicky Holden invented the tension sheet and became a millionaire. So whoever invents the tension sheet is bound to become a millionaire. So Lister convinces his younger self to try and invent the tension sheet, and his younger self is calling it like crypto-fascist, like all sorts of like like everything's crypto-fascist, you know? But eventually, like Lister decides to leave him with the tension sheet. He eventually invents it, and then Lister becomes a millionaire. But because Lister never goes to Red Dwarf, the cat race doesn't exist, so Cat doesn't exist. And then Crichton is never rescued, so Crichton is not on Red Dwarf anymore. So it's just Rimmer alone with Holly, and Rimmer can't have that. So he goes back in time using the photos to help himself invent the tension sheet instead. Oh, that's my thing. Oh my goodness. I don't know why it's going off. What time is it? Oh, I had the thing still on for our their project thing where we talk about Nostalgia Critic videos. Alright. Sorry about that. So Rimmer goes back in time to convince himself to invent the tension sheet when he was in summer camp or whatever. And because Thicky Holden was his roommate at the time, he tries to tell himself to do it, but instead Thicky Holden does it before he can. And so Thicky Holden just invents the tension sheet again. So it loops back around.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Okay, I just soaked all that in.
Yeah. Am I going too fast?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Right.
I'm trying to speed through this.
Go.
Alright, next episode, The Last Day. So apparently Crichton has a new upgrade available for he's a Mechanoid 4000 series, and there's a new issue of that.
Where did this come from?
Now. Right now.
Plot
Who
needs
developed it?
Oh, who developed Crichton?
No, who developed the update if everyone else is dead?
3 million years ago, and it's just arriving now.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Because the data is sent through
cool.
physical space and they're flying towards Earth.
Yeah, and so I guess because Crichton was invented in the year 2300, he was invented after Lister, and so 3 million years later, they're finally receiving the new update. There's a new mechanoid coming in now, and that means Crichton is going to be replaced, which means he is going to die. Crichton isn't upset about this because mechanoids believe in silicon heaven, which means if they serve people on Earth, then when they die, they pass on to another afterlife where they can just have immense pleasure. So they do all this work on Earth so that they can make it to silicon heaven and just live their life as they want to.
Is that intentionally programmed, or...?
It's not really gone into that much. I like to believe that they go to a cloud, their memory gets brought to a cloud storage system where they can enjoy themselves. That's how I like to imagine it. But Lister doesn't think this is real, so he thinks Crichton is just convinced to let himself die. So, in light of this, Lister sets up a party for Crichton so his last day can be one day where he gets to enjoy himself. Crichton goes to this, and they all bring him gifts. Cat brings him an earring. Lister makes him a robot Marilyn Monroe. Rimmer gives him Alexander the Great's drained sinal fluids or something like that. And yeah, they start telling stories. The best story of this all is that Rimmer. Well, okay, how does this go? So Rimmer talks a story about his first kiss. So he meets like two girls that are twins, and he goes over to their house, and then like he has a sleepover with these two twins, and then he falls asleep, and then he kisses the dad instead. It's the uncle actually, but I like telling it that way. Yeah, so that's what happens. And then when they wake up from a hangover, Crichton realizes that this is the first time in his life that he had fun, and he does not want to die anymore. He wants more fun. So their option now is to stop the mechanoid from coming and killing Crichton. Because how it works is that the new model comes in and kills the old one, right? And so they do that. Okay, season 4. Good. Camille. A pleasure gelf. Genetically engineered life form. This one is designed to look like your perfect mate to you. So no matter who looks at it, they all see a different person. It's always their perfect mate. DNA, they find a machine that can manipulate DNA, and they turn Crichton into a human for a short period of time because he has organic material in his brain, so that can be manipulated. Yeah. Okay. Justice. So a cryopod revives. So a cryopod's like an escape pod that freezes you, so you can survive until like the cryopod eventually finds its way to another thing that can help you.
Well, like Futurama.
Yeah. So think of like Stasis, but an escape pod as well, I guess. And so they don't know if the person in this cryopod is a prisoner or a guard, because it apparently came from a spaceship that was meant to be a prison. So they decide to go to that prison to figure out who this person was, like look them up on the registry, what their name was, and who it was. Okay. So they go there, and in order to get clearance to arrive here, they have to have their mind scanned to see if they did any crimes in the past. So Lister starts panicking because he did a bunch of crimes in the past. He stole cars, stole a hotel room once, all this stuff, right? So eventually Crichton and Kat are cleared. Lister, despite his petty thefts, are cleared. Rimmer is charged with killing 1,167 people.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because the time he didn't repair the drive plate properly, he killed all those people, and so now he has to like stay in prison for like 9,000 years. I forgot how long each of those murders counted as, or manslaughter.
He just walk out? He's a hologram.
He's being imprisoned there. There's like a justice field in the place, so he can't just leave or something.
Can't they just take the hollow disc out and then put it back in?
Okay, I guess I didn't go into it that much, but Rimmer is a hologram, and later on he can just walk through walls. But that sort of was a retcon later on. He had in the middle of his body is this thing called a light bee. Yeah. In the middle of his body is a thing called a light bee that sort of helps project his body. So he can't move through... Yeah, he's a gem. He can't just move through walls originally. He had to like... Because he had this thing in the middle of his body that wouldn't let him do it. So he can't just walk out. And there's also a thing called the justice field in the prison that... Anytime you commit a crime, the crime happens to you instead. So if you try to commit arson, you will be lit on fire.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So eventually, Crichton builds up a case and starts asking for a retrial on Rimmer's crime. His case hinges on the fact that Rimmer is an idiot and should not have been left to do that thing. So Lister, Kat, and Crichton all go up on the stand to explain how much of an idiot Rimmer is to get him out of jail. Crichton asks Lister, for instance, if he can recall Rimmer having any other friends besides himself, and Lister says only one, but she has a puncture repair kit. Which is a pretty good line, yeah. So they're all basically explaining how much of an idiot Rimmer is, how he sews name tags into his condoms, stuff like that. And then he's eventually found not guilty. And they go back, and the prisoner on board was a rogue droid, and they fight him, and then, yeah. White hole. White hole. They find a white hole. All that's important about this episode is near the beginning, they resurrect an old... It's called Talkie Toaster is his name, and they resurrect him because Lister apparently smashed him with a tire iron or something.
What is
Talkie Toaster?
Talkie Toaster.
So Talkie Toaster is a toaster that is meant to greet you with morning conversation and a piping hot slice of toast for the morning. except it's gone because of droid rot. It has gone insane and now only wants to serve toast. It will constantly ask you for toast, even if it has already served you toast. It will ask you if you want toast.
This is a smart toaster.
Yeah, and if you say you don't want toast, it will ask if you want any other like breakfast item. Like, do you want a muffin? Do you want a bagel? Do you want a donut? Do you want a crumpet? A crumpet?
British.
I don't even know what a crumpet is, to be honest.
It's not bad.
Alright. So that's the episode. They also find a white hole or whatever. A black hole sucks up space and time, and a white hole spits it out. So that's the idea of that. Alright, dimension jump. Okay. So this starts with like a flashback to when Rimmer was a kid, and his mom was coming up to him and saying, "Hey, you're not doing well in school, and they're about to hold you back a year if you don't pass this test." Right? Keep that in mind. Back to, like, the crew decides to go fishing on an ocean moon. They don't want Rimmer to come, but he comes anyways. And there's another version of Rimmer called Ace Rimmer in another universe who is a test pilot that is testing out a machine called the Dimension Jumper that can fly through dimensions and stuff. And everybody loves Ace Rimmer in his dimension. He's amazing. He's great. Like, every time Ace Rimmer leaves, everyone remarks, "What a guy," you know? He's just such a cool dude. So he comes over, he accidentally crashes into Starbug while they're flying to the ocean moon, and goes over to help them. Now, in doing so, for some reason, Ace Rimmer just can't get back to his old dimension if he just stops here to go save them.
Welcome back, everyone.
Woo! We just lost some audio, I guess, but that's fine.
Go.
So Ace Rimmer, right? We all know how cool Ace Rimmer is?
Yeah, we all
He's like the best person ever, really.
Chad, obviously.
He's an absolute Chad, right?
I think we're too harsh on Chads, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. I'm clapping for the audio.
Paul, scoot to your right.
You know which right is. There you go. Okay.
Good enough?
So, Ace Rimmer crashed into Starbug, right? And they, like, fell on an ocean moon or something, and Ace Rimmer is going back to save them, but in doing so, he's not able to return to his other dimension for reasons. Not really explained, he just can't go back now.
Ratings.
Yeah. So Ace Rimmer goes over to save them, and, like, he gets really along with Lister. He helps fix Cat's leg. By the way, Cat is sort of, because he's so obsessed with fashion, he, like, breaks his leg, and all he's worried about is the blood getting on his suit, so it's, like, clashing colors. Red with apricot don't really work that well.
It doesn't work?
But he's okay with gangrene, because green with apricot could be pulled off. Right? So,
Apricot?
yeah, the color apricot.
Yeah, apricot. But
They pronounce it. I'm sorry, they
They're
pronounce
British,
it apricot.
Roland.
I'm sorry. Okay, there are so many words in this show.
apricot.
There are so many words in this show that I only learned through watching the show. Like, I had to parse a bunch of British slang to get here. Like, I still don't... I mean, I have a vague idea of what a git is. I know what a snork is. I have a vague idea of what a git is, you know?
Git.
G-I-T.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means to be taughty. I don't know what taughty means.
Forty.
I think I know what tetchy means, but okay.
Just go.
Yeah, we're moving on. So, Rimmer is super jealous of Ace Rimmer, and his belief is that Ace Rimmer had all the breaks in life, and that's how he became such a cool dude. It's revealed at the end that Ace Rimmer was actually the version of Rimmer that got held back a year, and by being, like, challenged like that, it made him toughen up and become a better person. So that's the only difference between Ace Rimmer and Rimmer, is that Ace Rimmer was held back a year, Rimmer wasn't. So that's sort of Rimmer being characterized a bit more, and Ace Rimmer goes back, being a cool... Well, he doesn't go back. He just starts hopping through other dimensions to help other people, trying to find another Rimmer that is worse than this one. That is, like, his objective. Not really his objective. He just remarks at the end that there might be another Rimmer more whiny than this one, but I doubt it. So yeah, dimension jump. And Ace Rimmer is going to be a recurring character later on. Meltdown, Crichton finds a machine that can just teleport people, and so it's not like that long of a distance, but it can go pretty far. I mean, I don't know how far actually. It's just like you can teleport, right? And so he decides to test this out by teleporting to a nearby planet, and this planet happens to be like populated by wax droids. And the wax droids are separated by heroes and villains. So on the hero side, you have, like, pacifists, Elvis Presley, like, philosophers and stuff like that. And on the villain side, you have all the worst, like...
What are wax droids?
Oh, you know, like those wax those wax figures, right? Those like figurines that are made of wax.
Yeah.
They're basically those, but they can like move, like they're animatronic.
So we just have like sentient versions of all these historical figures.
Yeah, so you have like Elvis Presley, Santa Claus, Mother Teresa, stuff like that.
Is this where Gravity Falls got that idea? 'Cause
Mm,
they had
probably
an entire
not.
Episode on
Yeah, they
this.
did do that as well, but I don't
They also
think.
did the Five Nights at Freddy's episode.
I would be
That's not
surprised.
based off of
I would be
Freddy.
surprised if Alex Hirsch took inspiration from Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf of all shows.
Yeah. So basically, by the way, I think we're on season 4, right? This was in 1993. This was in 1994, and this was in 1995. So we have sort of an idea of what time period we're in when these episodes are coming out. There's like a 3-year gap between 2 and 3, right?
Yeah.
Like in 1989, 1993, 4, 5. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So, so you have the hero side and the villain side. The villain side are like war criminals and terrible people. You have like Hitler, you have Caligula, people like that. And the hero side is losing because everyone on their side are like pacifists and like good people who don't kill. So right now Rimmer is tasked with being, because he's like obsessed with like army generals and being in the army. So he's the strategist, and he like assigns himself as the person who will help the hero wax droids in winning the war. His strategy is to have them run across a minefield in broad daylight while Mother Teresa goes around the back and shoots Hitler. This works out in that it kills every wax droid on the planet.
Oh my god.
The Mother Teresa does manage to kill everyone else in the back, but everyone else in the front also dies. So the heroes and the villains both die. Alright, season 5 Hollow Ship. They find a ship that's a hologram.
Wait,
what's wrong?
Good question.
Okay.
I have the mic. Does Mother Teresa survive?
Mother Teresa does not survive. Everyone dies. Like, Hitler shoots Mother Teresa at the end.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, I hate Hitler. I didn't even know I could hate Hitler even more. Like,
All right.
damn, Red Dwarf, you
Y'all
are pushing
remember 3
boundaries.
million years in the future when Hitler killed Mother Teresa?
I'm gonna go home to that and ask my dad that.
Alright.
That's because he got rejected from Cal Arts.
Alright, Hollow Ship. They find a hologrammatic spaceship, and Rimmer wants to be a part of it, but then, like, love story, he decides not to. The Inquisitor. Okay, so this is how we know that, like, there is no God and no afterlife, because the Inquisitor is a self-repairing robot that lived to the end of the universe to find what the meaning of life was, and he didn't find anything. The universe just ends. When you die, you die. There's nothing at the end. And so, after he realizes this, he finds that the only meaning to life is to live a good life. So using the technology that he has way into the future, he's traveling throughout time and space, deleting people who are worthless, and replacing them with, like, other dimensional versions, not dimensional versions of themselves, but other versions of themselves that never got to exist. So, like, he comes to Lister, Rimmer, Cat, and Crichton, and has them justify their existence to see why they should exist. Rimmer responds that because he had such a bad upbringing, he couldn't become anything better than what he became. Cat responds that he gave... Oh, I should also mention that the Inquisitor judges people by having them judge themselves. So he, like, uses his robot thing, technology, whatever, to become the other person that he's judging so that, like, they can judge themselves onto whether or not they're worthy of life. So, Rimmer says that he had a bad upbringing. Cat says he brought so much joy to the world because he has a beautiful ass. Crichton says that... right. Crichton says that because... what did he say exactly? Right, because he's a mechanoid. Everything that he does that is good, he doesn't do with good faith. He does because he's programmed to do it. So nothing he does is actually like a well-intentioned action. It's just something that he's supposed to do. And then Lister responds, so what? But spin on it. And so the Inquisitor decides that the two people that are not worthy of life are Lister and Crichton because they both didn't really give good justifications for themselves, but Rimmer and Cat believed in the things that they said, that they were actually worthy of life. So the whole episode is Lister and Crichton are erased from existence and have to fight for their existence again by, like, stealing the Inquisitor's technology, doing stuff like that.
Cool.
Alright. Terraform, they find a Moon, which is a planet that terraforms itself into someone's, like, mindscape. So it terraforms itself into Rimmer's mindscape, and it's like an on-fire swamp with like with like graves to like all the lost pieces of his personality, like his charm, his courage, all the other parts that he never had before. And so the big monster on the Moon is his, I forgot what it was. It's like his neuroses or his contempt or something. Yeah, I did it already. Wait, what?
Again.
Oh, okay. Are we good? So yeah, that's Terraform. Quarantine's like the fan favorite episode of the whole series.
Really?
Even at the
I
end of
can't
this,
imagine why that would be.
not like right it was before, but like I forgot about current events and you guys had to remind me of them. So Quarantine, the crew find a research station on a moon somewhere that supposedly has another hologram on it, like Dr. Langstrom. She's like a genius, and so they decide we're gonna replace Rimmer with Dr. Langstrom. And then Rimmer finds out about this and is very resentful about this and like super mad. But Crichton like calls like Space Corps directive something, which becomes a running joke throughout the series that Rimmer doesn't know the Space Corps directives and he'll try to mention them anyways, and then Crichton will correct him on it or something. So he calls a Space Corps directive that declares that a hologram must deactivate if they find a better suited hologram for the ship. Like if they want to deactivate this hologram, they're just allowed to, right? Something along those lines, right? So Rimmer stays on the ship while the rest of them go down to the research station to find Dr. Langstrom and bring her onto the ship. They find that Dr. Langstrom's research was about like their positive viruses, right? So you have like the flu, rabies, etc. that are like viruses and infections that we get. Well, there are also positive viruses, like for instance, inspiration. Sometimes we'll contract the inspiration virus and just suddenly have a good idea. We can contract luck. We can contract like charisma, stuff like that. So the crew decide to bring all these viruses on board, and they find Dr. Langstrom, and they find that she has been infected with a holovirus that has made her go completely insane, and she shoots lasers out of her eyes, and she's psychic and omnipotent, but it's all draining like her holo disc. So she's like slowly dying as this is all happening, and so they decide like, if we just wait long enough and run away from her for long enough, she'll eventually just die right there because the virus is slowly killing her.
Is she actually omnipotent? Or
She is not like omnipotent,
Okay.
but it's like I don't know how best to describe. She's like psychic and can read their thoughts and knows a lot of stuff.
like Alien X omnipotence?
I don't think that
Okay, well,
omnipotent.
Alien X-
He doesn't Ben 10. He's not cool.
I'm
know
pretty
Ben
sure.
10?
I know what Ben 10 is, but I'm pretty sure it's not Alien X levels.
Loser.
It's just like she can shoot lasers out of her eyes, use telekinesis, like super powerful. Yeah.
And this is just an episode-long adventure.
This is
like,
one episode, right? That's why I'm speeding through these, because a lot of episodes are like this, so I'm just covering the most important ones, right? She calls up, like, they have a walkie-talkie to talk to Rimmer through, and, like, she grabs the walkie-talkie out of their hands, like, through telekinesis, and calls Rimmer, and is like, "Hello, I am Dr. Langstrom, and I am quite mad." Like, stuff like that, you know? She's insane, but she eventually just dies because she lasts long enough. And then, when they try to head back on board, Rimmer says, "Hey, that Dr. Langstrom had a holovirus. I don't want you bringing that to me. You're all going to quarantine for 6 months. Or 6 weeks, or something along like that. And you're all going to be stuck in this room together. The only entertainment I'm giving you is like a already done crossword puzzle and a DIY guide on carpeting." So they're all stuck in this room. They're all going insane. They're all on a sprout-only diet. They're only eating sprouts. And so, later on, they decide we want like a re-screening to prove that we don't have this holovirus on us. And when they call for it, Rimmer shows up on the screen with like a white and red gingham dress with combat boots and like a puppet named Mr. Flibble, because he already contracted the virus. Because it contracts verbally, not... Because remember when he called up, when Dr. Langstrom called him up, that's how he got the virus. So now he's insane, and they're locked in a room, and he's going to kill them. But in order to escape, they used the luck virus to figure out the password to get out of the quarantine, and then they're also using the luck virus to find exactly what they need to cure Rimmer of the disease. And so they do that, and they accomplish their goals. I should, like, last note for that episode is that the puppet that Rimmer has is named Mr. Flibble, which became sort of like a fan favorite character. Like, he shoots lasers out of the puppet's eyes.
Nice.
And stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It's like a penguin kind of puppet thing.
Fun.
It's pretty cool. Question?
No.
No? Okay. Next episode, Demons and Angels. They make two versions of Red Dwarf. One is completely angelic, and one is like the absolute evil of the ship. Everything that sickens the soul, just like focused.
Finally, Blue Giant.
Red Blue Dwarf, yeah.
No, it's Green Giant.
Oh yeah.
Idiot.
All right, that's the episode. That's all you need to know about that. The final episode of Series 5 is Back to Reality. So, the crew find a sunken ship called the SS Esperanto. And apparently everyone on the ship committed suicide, including the fish. Everyone just killed themselves on this ship. They eventually figure out that the reason this happened is because there's this thing called a despair squid, which shoots out despair ink that makes you imagine, like, your worst nightmare to the point where you just want to kill yourself. Like, it's just such a bad hallucination that you believe, like, dying is, like, better than what you're seeing right now, right? Whoopsie. So they go back on ship, start running away, but the despair squid starts chasing them, and eventually crashes into their ship, kills them, and like we all die at the like with everyone when they die, we see a game over screen, we wake up from an AR machine, and it turns out that everything we experienced throughout the whole show was just a VR game.
Are you serious?
So yeah, not only were they just playing a VR game this whole time, but they really sucked at it.
Hate Britain.
Like, how they were actually supposed to defeat the despair squid at this part in the game was that because the Esperanto, like the SS Esperanto, right? Esperanto means hope. Hope beats despair. You were supposed to use the weapons on the Esperanto to fight the despair squid, but they didn't do it. They just died. Like, there's other stuff, like, Lister could have saved Kachansky earlier in the game, and he didn't, so he just didn't accomplish his goal. And, like, they all wake up as, like, different people. Cat wakes up as a man called Dwayne Dibley. He's the dorkiest man you've ever seen. He has a bowl haircut.
Wait, the entire series?
The entire series up to this point.
Oh my god.
Wait, okay, so were they ever really on the Red Dwarf? Or...
No, they were in an AR game.
Okay, so the Red Dwarf doesn't exist.
Red Dwarf is the game.
So Dwayne Dibley is, like, carrying around a thermostat. I believe, like, Crichton's real name is Jake Bullitt. He like is a traffic warden, and then Lister is a fascist dictator of some kind, and Rimmer is a nobody. He's just Lister's brother, and they're just like related. And so they all figure this out, and like they all are despising their lives so much in this AR game that they decide the best thing to do is to just kill themselves. And that's when they realize they're just in a hallucination that's caused by the despair ink, and they wake up from it, and it was all just a hallucination.
Stop!
You have a question?
No, carry on.
Yeah, all of that was just a despair-induced hallucination. They were never actually fake. They were real. Yeah. So that's back to reality. And this episode has disastrous consequences later on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the end of the second arc. How long was that?
What the fuck was that?
It's 11:30.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
Alright,
jeez.
give us the TLDR.
We haven't gotten past the Hypnospace arc yet. We're 15 minutes from that.
Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, so between the second arc and the third arc, as I have divided it, did I mention, like, the show isn't actually divided into arcs? I just did that for the sake of this
Yeah.
lecture. Okay, just making sure. Also to mention, like, the reason I chose these colors was because I watched all these shows on DVD because I didn't have BBC on my cable network.
You don't
So
have BBC?
I had BBC America, not BBC, which is what this was on. So, like, Series 1 is red because the DVD case was red. Blue, green, yellowish white, teal. This was supposed to be brown,
that's yellowish
purple, orange, and then the rest of these just don't have a specific color attached to them. I chose this because this is, like, my new color synesthesia. I associate these numbers with these colors because of this show.
Damn.
Yeah. Woo! Woo! Alright.
If you thought you were zooming through those past 3 seasons,
We're gonna zoom past
zoom.
these, don't worry. Series 7 is probably going to be the densest part of this show, and everything else is just Zoom time.
Go Zoom.
Yeah, go Zoom. Woo!
How did the writers write themselves out of this hole?
I need to prepare myself for this. So season 6. Lister wakes up from suspended animation like 200 years into the future. Like after the events of Back to Reality. He just wakes up 200 years into the future. Apparently, he lost Red Dwarf somehow. He's just on Starbug. Red Dwarf went missing, they don't know where it is, and they're all just like stranded on this ship with no resources or anything.
You're
Because
so
all this
bad at your job, you lose an entire city.
Yeah, he lost an entire... He like forgot what blue greenish planetoid he parked it on or something.
Can you hand me the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, real life, how many years in between these seasons?
Season 5 and 6... Season 6 was directly after Season 5. So, like, Season 1 and 2 was 1888, 1899... Or 1889. Then it was, like, 1993, 94, 95, 96. And then Series 7 and 8 are 98, 99. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So they're just stranded on Starbug now, and they're like scavenging. They're space pirates now. They're just scavenging for food wherever they can find it. They're like eating like moss now because there's nothing left to eat.
It's a delicacy.
Space weevils, dandelions, stuff like that. Okay, so now that they're stuck on Starbug, their new goal is not to get back to Earth, but to get back to Red Dwarf. Because with Red Dwarf gone, Holly disappeared as well. We don't know where she is right now.
Aww.
She's just stuck on Red Dwarf, alone and abandoned. And, like, stranded somewhere. So we
Who's
gotta
Holly?
go find her. Holly is the ship's AI.
Okay.
You remember trans
Yeah.
AI person? Yeah. So, first episode is Sirens. P.S. I-R-E-N-S. They're just, like... They're just, they sort of make you think they're another person so they can approach you and eat your brains and stuff.
They're the Salt Eaters from Star Trek.
Yeah, I guess. I'll believe you on that one. Legion. So they find a spaceship that, or sort of a satellite or something that nobody is on, but as soon as they approach it, all of a sudden a person appears on the ship named Legion. He gets out, he gives Rimmer he takes out Rimmer's appendix because he's on the verge of peritonitis and he didn't know, but Legion knew because he's really smart. He changes Rimmer's light bee from soft light to hard light, so he can now touch things.
Oh, cool.
And he basically wants to keep them on the ship or on this satellite forever. Because Legion is not a person, rather a combination of all these people together. So as soon as they leave the satellite, Legion no longer exists.
Huh.
So his goal is to just keep them here from now until the day they die, and to keep them there as long as possible. So he sort of like
Is
keeps
he
them.
a result of the satellite?
Yeah, he's like, it used to be that the scientists lived on the satellite and created Legion and lived in like great like luxury. But then the scientists started dying one by one until
So he
eventually
started losing, and then when
Yeah.
they got there, the program sort of tricks them.
Yeah, so after all the scientists died, Legion became nothing, and then when they came on board, Legion suddenly got to exist again. So he sort of like takes care of them, he lets them live in luxury, and sort of wants them to be happy. But they need to get back to Red Dwarf to save Holly, so they leave the ship and fight Legion and stuff. Okay, Gunmen of the Apocalypse. We didn't mention simulants yet. So simulants are just robots that hate humans and want to kill humans and anyone who works for humans. So these simulants, long story short, these simulants put a virus on Red Dwarf that like Crichton decides to fight by using like his program and stuff. So he passes out, starts dreaming and stuff. Did the thing reset again? Okay, are we good though? Okay. So right, Crichton sort of goes to sleep and starts using his CPU powers to fight the virus. Meanwhile, the rest of them watch and see that Crichton is losing this fight because he's dreaming it as like a western sort of thing, where like the virus comes to him as like the gunmen or the gunmen of the apocalypse, like war, death, like the horsemen of the apocalypse, I guess is a more appropriate term. So they decide to help Crichton out that they're going to put on the VR headsets that they have and go into the dream where Crichton is to help him fight the virus. And so it's basically just an excuse to have like a western in the episode. This episode won like an Emmy. It was so good. Like in America, it won an award.
Shoot.
Like the soundtrack of this episode is like Western strings mixed with like synth, like the Red Dwarf synths and stuff. It's a really well made soundtrack. The whole episode is really good.
Nice.
But okay, next up, Emohawk - Polymorph 2.
What? That's okay. Never mind. Go.
Okay, basically, there's just another we meet another polymorph because there's multiple out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so important as the part where they crash land on a Gelf planet and they
Can
need.
you go over polymorphs again? They're bad, right?
Right. They eat emotions and they can change into anything.
Right. Okay.
Right.
What's a Gelf planet?
So Gelfs are genetically engineered life forms.
Right.
And so they were created by people for whatever reason, and they're just like sort of stranded in deep space and now live like sort of like off of the Earth of the planet. So they're very primitive, and they just so happen to have the exact machine part that Starbug needs to get back off the ground again. So they have to trade something to get the oxygeneration unit, which is the machine part they need, and the Gelfs decide that they want Lister in exchange for it. They want Lister to marry the like tribeman's like daughter or something, so that because he's probably the most handsome guy there. Because like all the Gelfs are like hairy Sasquatch people, like very gross people. And so Lister agrees to marry her in order to get the machine part they need, and then just escapes after they get married and runs to Starbug. And this is seen as like an act of treason, and so they attack him with the polymorph. They send the polymorph after them that they have. Okay. They fight a polymorph again. Rimmer turns into Ace Rimmer because he loses like his vanity and stuff. Cat turns into Dwayne Dibley, which is another recurring character. Okay. Rimmerworld. Another long roundabout way, Rimmer ends up on an escape pod, like hurtling towards a wormhole that when he goes through it, it will feel like to everyone else on Starbug, that's just several minutes have passed, but to Rimmer, it will feel like 600 years.
Whoops.
Because of like time dilation.
Which he
stuff.
can survive.
He can survive because he's just a hologram. So he decides, because the escape pod was from a seeding ship, it has like terraforming equipment and genetic capabilities, so he can create a bunch of clones of himself and create an entire society of Rimmers. This is not a good idea.
No. They barely survived 2.
They barely survived 2, but now he's created an entire planet of Rimmers. And once they make it back to this planet, they're trying to find which Rimmer is the real Rimmer. And they go to the leader, and it turns out that Rimmer used to be the leader, but he was taken over because he was just such a slime ball. He sucked and was terrible, right? So they get sent to prison, and it turns out this Rimmer was just sent to prison for 557 years. So he spent like most of that time just in prison.
Why so specific?
Because like it's just a long time.
Just reasons? Okay.
It doesn't need to be a specific year. It could be 556 years. But like it's given a specific time, right? So they all escape from Rimmerworld, and Rimmer is like 600 years older now, whatever. Okay, out of time. So, in Weird Mageddon Part 1, where like they're going through those oddball things, that like the bubbles that they fly through and changes reality a bit?
Oh yeah, condensed weirdness.
Yeah, it's condensed weirdness. They start flying through a section of space that has unreality pockets that are essentially that. So it first makes the crew think that Lister is a robot, then it makes like everyone think that Cat doesn't exist, and then it like turns all of them to furries and stuff. It's weird.
What?
Yeah.
I don't want to see... Wait, but Cat's a
felis sapien. He's not technically a human, but he's humanoid.
Yeah, I know, but like, would that make him an actual cat person?
No, it makes him like a
cat
deer.
person.
It makes him like a deer or something.
Why the... Never mind, go.
Yeah, they just turn into random animals. Okay.
Oh.
So, eventually they figure out that all these unreality pockets are being created by some spaceship in the distance that has something on it that is so valuable that...
We're back!
Woo! You gotta stop having technical issues, Tyler.
Yeah, just stop.
Alright, so they find out that the ship is trying to protect something and using unreality pockets to defend it, right? That's where we left off?
Yep.
So the crew decided to go into like suspended animation for like a couple days to just go through the unreality pockets, sort of grind through them, and then figure out what the ship is defending at the end. And it turns out what it's defending is a time machine. There's just a time machine at the end of it. So they take it and they use the time machine to go back to the 14th century, and it doesn't seem like anything changed because they're not actually going back to Earth, they're just changing their time to the 14th century. They can't just teleport back to Earth. They need something that can teleport their whole thing. And besides, they're trying to get Holly back first.
So they're going back to the 14th century in the place that they are in right now.
Yes.
Okay.
They're in deep space in the 14th century now.
Gotcha.
I think they just decide to go back or something. And when they go back, they see another starbug with their future selves on board.
Future selves?
Their future selves, yes. Future Lister, future Rimmer, future Cap, future Crichton. All their future selves are on board. And to prevent them from learning about their future, Crichton decides that I'm just going to talk to these people and erase my memory. You all wait back at whatever. So Crichton has a chat with them. We don't know what is said, but when he comes back, he starts crying and starts hugging Mr. Lister. I hope you know, Lister, that I love you. Something happens to Lister. We don't know what it is, but Crichton is very upset by it. So they decide to have dinner, and Lister, out of curiosity, decides to set up a camera in the dining hall so that when they're forced to go up to their rooms, all three of them, that they can see what's going on with their future selves. And they see that Cat is bald now. Rimmer is... Ed, wake up!
I'm here. What? I'm
Stop.
listening. I'm
Demerit.
visualizing.
Demerit.
What? I'm paying attention.
Your eyes are closed, dude.
I can hear.
Rimmer is super fat, despite being a hologram. And because he can eat now, I guess. Crichton is in like a tacky suit with like a ginger toupee or whatever. Lister is just a brain in a jar.
Oh.
We literally don't know why, but he's just a brain in a jar now. So they eventually figure out that their future selves used this time machine to go back to Earth in different periods in time and just like hang out with historical figures. They hang out with Louis XIV and have a great meal. They hang out with Adolf Hitler and have a great... Adolf Hitler! Wait a second! What are our future selves doing right now? Lister has had enough. The whole crew kick them off, say you have to leave right now. Go. And they need an extra part for their time machine so they could start traveling through time again, otherwise they'd be stranded just like they are. So they kick them off the ship, and then...
Wait, who kicks who?
Our current selves kick our future selves off of our current ship.
Gotcha.
Right? So now our future selves are going back to their future ship and are declaring war against us because they need that part of the time machine so they can travel through time again, right?
Gotcha.
So that's why they came back in time to get that part, right? So now they're fighting them, and because they have superior technology, they're gonna like blast us out of the sky. We're utterly destroyed. Everyone dies.
Again.
Season 6 ends.
Game over?
Just to leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger, I want to talk about something that I should have talked about way over here, and it's that Dave Lister has 2 working taste buds.
Ah.
Yeah, so he likes spicy food a lot, specifically curry, and he ate so much of it that it destroyed the rest of his taste buds. And now he cannot taste anything but like curry and spicy foods, right? So like he will eat cereal, but instead of putting milk in it, he puts in Tabasco sauce.
Ew.
Yeah, he drinks Vindaloo sauce as just a beverage. Like he's that obsessed with curry, right? His big thing is curry.
Man.
Okay. Season 7. Does anyone know what a bootstrap paradox is? Or a grandfather paradox? Any of that?
Grandfather, yes.
Yeah. So the reason they're still alive is because their future selves killed their past selves, which meant they couldn't live enough to the future to kill their past selves. So their future selves never existed, and this creates a paradox. How this paradox is resolved is that they just enter a new timeline when the paradox happens. So now they're in a timeline where their future selves never existed, and they don't know what their future is anymore. Oh, jeez. Ah, my legs. Ah, jeez.
We're back.
Leave that in. Just leave me crawling back up from the floor in. Cut out the fat part of me where I'm telling you to leave it in, though.
Just go.
Alright, Season 7, Paradox. That's how they're still alive. We start off with Ticket to Ride. All the curry on the ship just gets flushed out into space. Or not into space, but it just gets flushed out. It all goes missing after a flood or something, caused by like a water pipe leak or something. Like one of the water supply things just burst and causes a flood. All the curry is gone. This is extremely devastating to Lister because that's the only food he eats. So he decides, using the technology that he has, to go back in time to like get a new order of curry. And like at this point they can just go back to Earth, so they like go back to Earth in like 1963 and order curry from there. But the reason they're not staying there is because they need to rescue Holly. So our objective has changed to rescuing Holly, as you remember. So we're just going back to Earth to get like a quick thing of curry so we can, he can eat. And we go back to November 22nd, 1963. Does anyone know why that date's important?
November 22nd?
November 26th, 1963? No one remembers?
Remember, the 22nd of November in 1963.
No one remembers why this date is important? JFK died, dude! JFK was shot, dude! And it turns out that they just accidentally killed the gunman by like appearing, not knowing he has a gun, and accidentally knocking him out the window.
It's cool because the Umbrella Academy is there also.
Yeah, the guy with an umbrella shows up. No, that didn't happen. But after realizing that they accidentally saved JFK, they try and get back to Earth, but then they figure out, or they try to get back to Starbug, but they figure out there is no Starbug because there is no Red Dwarf, because there is no Space Corps, because there is because JFK was not assassinated. He was instead impeached for being a womanizer, because like Bill Clinton was, right? So because of that, J. Edgar Hoover became president, right? And because J. Edgar Hoover became president, he had the mafia had blackmail on him, and so essentially the U.S. government was being controlled by the mafia. This caused an escalation of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which caused every major city to be evacuated. This also caused the USSR to win the space race.
Oof.
So Space Corps doesn't exist because America never made it to space. That's just the Russian thing. So now they have to reset the timeline so they can get back to Starbug. And in order to repair it, they need to find a new gunman. The gunman on the grassy knoll. Who's going to shoot JFK on the grassy knoll? None other than JFK. For you see, they go back in time to when JFK was impeached and talk him into going back in time and shooting himself so he becomes a legend instead of like a failure who was impeached and everyone hates. Right? So they do this. JFK assassinates himself, and then the paradox corrects itself so that JFK just always was assassinated, and they're in a new timeline again. And they do this, and they rescue. They're able to get back to Starbug, and Lister still hasn't gotten a curry.
Oh, shame.
Later on, in like an extended release of this episode, it's revealed that Lister found the curry by like going back in time to before the flood happened and stealing it. From that, and that's why there wasn't even any debris there.
What do you mean before the flood? Like Noah's flood?
No, before the flood that caused all the curry to like be destroyed and disappear.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, stoke me a clipper. So this is a reference to Ace Rimmer's catchphrase, smoke me a kipper, right?
British.
Yeah, kipper is a fish. He's asking you to cook him fish. Ace Rimmer has been traveling through time and space and like destroying fascism and killing Nazis. He is based as heck. He's based as poop, dude. And so he decides to revisit Ace Rimmer.
Based?
On what?
Based. He is based.
On what?
He goes. He meets up with the old crew again on Starbug just to like hang out with them, and then he talks with Rimmer in private and says, "Hey Rimmer, I'm dying. I need you to replace me as the new Ace Rimmer. The world needs someone to crush fascism, and you're going to be the only person who does it." Rimmer is like, "But I'm a coward and dumb and stupid, and I suck, and I smell a lot." And our Ace Rimmer says, "Please do it," except he says it very demandingly and like cool-like. So, the rest of the crew doesn't know this, but Ace Rimmer is going to die, and Rimmer's going to become the new Ace Rimmer. So he eventually takes on this training, and it doesn't work at all. He still sucks, but they don't have a choice. So Ace Rimmer just has him dress up as him before he dies, and then eventually Ace Rimmer does die. The rest of the crew think that it was Rimmer who died because Ace Rimmer is sitting there, and so they decide to have a funeral for Rimmer. And in Rimmer's funeral, they talk about how much of a great vending machine repairman he was, and how he was the best in the Space Corps at repairing chicken vindaloo, or chicken noodle nozzles, or whatever. And
Some kind of British word.
So at the end, they flush... okay, I want to clarify. Dead Ace Rimmer, and then Rimmer right now is the real new Ace Rimmer, right? So I'm just going to refer to him as Rimmer, and the dead Ace Rimmer as Ace Rimmer, right? Is everyone on board? Right. They flush Ace Rimmer's light beam out into space in a special casket, and they follow it into a wormhole where they find that there's an entire ring around a planet created of caskets of past Ace Rimmers. Because over the course of 200 years, it's just become what is it called?
Cycle?
A cycle of sorts, where every time an Ace Rimmer passes on, they find a new Rimmer to take their place. So Rimmer has just become another part of that cycle. And then Rimmer leaves the crew to go on the Dimension Jumper and fight crime and stuff.
Question.
Can
You hit me with the mic real quick?
Yep.
Okay. So the Ace Rimmer we met in this episode might not be the original Ace Rimmer that ran into their ship all the way back in Series 3.
He is not, no.
Okay, was the Ace Rimmer we first met in the show the original Ace Rimmer, or was he also possibly an Ace Rimmer who had this mantra passed down?
The first Ace Rimmer we meet was the original, because he was the first one to use the Dimension Jumper, and the reason he started fighting crime was because he couldn't go back to his regular Earth. So he had to sort of travel through dimensions in the jumper to just do whatever.
Okay, I follow.
Yeah. All right. So that's Stoke Me a Clipper. Next up, Ouroboros. This one's gonna be tough. This was okay.
Wait.
Hole in space time. No.
Wait. Time out. Out of curiosity, how is Ouroboros spelled?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
No, it's Ouroboros. No, they mispronounce it in They mispronounce it in.
It's Ouroboros.
They mispronounce it in Full Metal Alchemist. It's Ouroboros.
It's Ouroboros.
Shut up! It's Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
They pronounce it Ouroboros in the show, and that's how I'm pronouncing it because that's how I learned to pronounce it. Because this is the first time I saw the word. It's Ouroboros.
You're British. It doesn't count, Roland. It's
Shut
Ouroboros.
I can't believe you people.
Y'all fucking blew out the mic.
I'm glad I did. Do we have to repair that again? Is that another technical issue? I did some research on this after the lecture just because I was curious, and from everything I can find, there is no other source of someone saying Ouroboros. It's always Ouroboros. Even in where they say it in Britain or in other countries related to Britain, they say Ouroboros, not Ouroboros. So I don't know why they say Ouroboros in the show, but it's the first time I heard the word, and it's how I learned it, and that's how I learned to pronounce it. And they even say Ouroboros in the show when they're purposefully mispronouncing it, because it's written on Lister's box and they say Ouroboros, and they're like, that doesn't make sense to me, what does that mean? And then they correct themselves later saying it's Ouroboros. Maybe it's just to make the correction more clear in the show? I don't know, but that's how I say it now.
Keep going.
Jackson, I want your input. How is it pronounced?
Ouroboros.
Haven't you seen Lego Ninjago, Roland?
No!
It's Ouroboros.
It's Ouroboros.
Oh my god.
It's not though.
Everybody,
I'm fed up with
everybody in the YouTube comments clown Roland for pronouncing Ouroboros wrong.
They pronounce it Ouroboros in the show, and that's how we learned to pronounce it.
Well, it was wrong. So
It's Ouroboros.
We're correcting one.
Okay,
Future
fine.
reference.
Episode 3 of Season 7, Ouroboros. That sounds so weird to say. I can't believe you people say it that way.
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
We haven't even started the episode! This is a big episode!
Just go.
Okay. So, they find a wibbly wobbly thingy in space time. That's how Kat describes it because he's the first one to see it. He doesn't even like specify if it's a swiggly thing or a swirly thing. It's just a thing, right? It's in space, right? They go towards it, and it seems to be a rip between two different dimensions. And in the other dimension, they see Christine Kachansky, Lister as a hologram, Crichton and Kat, right? So what happened in this dimension was that Christine Kachansky got put into stasis because she found out that Lister had a cat, took it from him, and then was going to like put it in an incinerator, but cat, right? So she decided to save it anyways. And so she got put into stasis because she got caught with the cat. The Holly resurrected Lister. That's what happened in that group. And these people decide to make a rip in space-time to try and meet another version of Lister that was alive because Kachansky wants to have children, but Lister can't give her children because he's a hologram, so they want Lister to give his genetic material to her so that they can put it in an in vitro tube and create a child through in vitro tube. And then Gelf's attack, and then the thing is destroyed, and then they leave to the other dimension. Kachansky is stuck in the wrong dimension now with the rest of them.
Hold up.
Yeah?
Gelfs again.
Gelfs.
Can you quickly re-go over Gelfs?
Genetically engineered life forms. Remember how Lister was married
The
to one?
Sasquatch thing.
Yeah, the Sasquatch people. Remember how Lister was married to one of them?
Okay.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
They're like gears, but not cool.
Yeah, they're not even cool gears. They're bad gears. They're worse than humans,
But
right?
what were they programmed for again? Like,
We
why
don't know.
done?
They were just genetically engineered life forms. We don't. It's not really specified what they do.
So why did they attack?
They attacked because remember when Lister married one of them?
Yeah.
Lister abandoned the marriage. They now hate Lister and are trying to
Gotcha.
kill him.
Has this just been like a reoccurring plot since then?
No, it just came back for this episode.
Okay.
So Kachansky is now stuck in the wrong dimension, and they're trying to figure out a way to get her back, and they eventually do. And the crew decide to like exchange like supplies because Kachansky's dimension their Starbug has a lot more supplies than our dimension. So we trade Lister's genetic material for the supplies. Yeah, right? All makes sense?
Yep.
Lister finds on one of the boxes of supplies they give him the word Ouroboros with a picture of a snake eating itself. Ouroboros with a snake eating itself, right? He looks at it and he realizes the word that was written on his box wasn't just gibberish, it was Ouroboros. Because he's his own dad!
No.
Lister is his own dad! Because the cyclical, like, snake eating itself, the never-ending cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because that child that Lister just created with the in vitro tube is actually him. And he has to go back to Kachansky and, like, get the in vitro tube back so he can bring it back in time and, like, leave himself under the pool table.
That's why he was an orphan all those years ago.
Yes, because he was his own dad! He was his own dad and his son.
You just got Futurama.
He got Futurama, fool. So he eventually gets the thing back, but the Gelfs attack again, and this time Kachansky almost dies, but they save her by like shooting her with a crossbow. I don't need to go into it too much. No context. And then Kachansky is back in the wrong dimension again, and they can't open the linkway again. So Kachansky's just stuck on Starbug, the wrong Starbug. She's now a part of the crew.
Is she pregnant?
She is not pregnant. The child was created with an in vitro tube. Not with pregnancy.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Which is why it's always...
Yeah.
listed.
So, Rimmer is gone, and instead we have Kachansky, right? Crichton hates Kachansky because he thinks that she's taking time away from him and Lister because Lister is a horny boy that wants to get with Kachansky. And then Kat is also there. Next episode, Duct Soup, spelled D-U-C-T. Duct, like air ducts. So Crichton, there's a power outage, right, on the ship, and all the doors suddenly lock, right? So they're stuck, and the ship is starting to hurtle towards the sun. And so in order to get to the cockpit from where they are, like in the bedrooms, they have to go through the air ducts of the ship and around to the cockpit. As it turns out, Lister is claustrophobic, so this is a big deal for him. He can't really handle it that well. Kachansky helps keep him calm. Cat is stupid and doesn't understand how to talk to people. And then Crichton at the end reveals that he's the one who caused the power outage, causing them to hurtle towards the sun because he was trying to prevent Lister and Kachansky from getting together. Because he sort of had like a vision where he thought like Lister and Kachansky were going to get married, hang out with Gelfs, and like wear clogs. And he wanted to prevent that future from happening, even though like it was just like a hallucination he had.
Fun.
Right?
Oh,
That
okay.
is any of this making sense?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. Next episode, Blue. So Lister is, for once, starting to miss having Rimmer on the ship. Because now that he's gone, he's starting to go through all the old memories he had with Rimmer on the ship, where they would, like, go golfing and stuff. Like, so Lister is, like, missing Rimmer a lot. And I guess the whole crew sort of has a thing. Like, they're sort of, like, feeling empty because Rimmer's no longer there. So Crichton decides to make everyone feel better, he's going to make like the Rimmer experience. It's a VR game that's just like it's just sort of a roller coaster you go on that talks about the life of Arnold Judas Rimmer.
They still don't know where the Red Dwarf is, right?
They still don't know where the Red Dwarf is.
If they find it, could they just put another Rimmer in, or?
No, because he left with the holodisc or something.
Ah.
I don't think
Couldn't they sustain a second one? I thought that was the whole point of season 1.
That plot thread is entirely dropped at this
cool.
point. It doesn't matter anymore. So, this Rimmer experience is based off of Rimmer's diary because it's the only thing that Crichton has to go off of who Rimmer was as a person. And because of this, it's entirely geared towards Rimmer being the cool guy, Lister wetting his pants, and Cat like being taught how to wear formal clothes that are also fashionable. And they all learn why they hated Rimmer again and are fed up with him, and yeah, this whole episode was just to learn why they hated Rimmer again.
There's surprising emotional depth to that concept.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotional depth here. Like, I think later on, around like here, we're gonna learn a lot more about Rimmer that's gonna change our perception of the show entirely. That's an exaggeration, but it's pretty cool. Alright. Beyond a joke, Crichton meets his brother. That's it. Epidemic. So they find a ship called the Leviathan that has like a woman frozen on board, Miss Caroline Carroll. Apparently she's a human, she's still alive, so maybe maybe Lister's not the last human being alive. So they bring her on the ship, try to rescue her and stuff, trying to thaw her out of the ice. And it's not working. The ice isn't melting at all. That night, all of a sudden, the ice just cracks open, breaks, and Caroline Carroll walks out. She is a zombie. She kisses Lister. Oh, yeah, the thing. She kisses Lister and then immediately dies. Later on, they figure out that Lister now has a virus known as Epidemic. Epidemic was developed as like a competitor to the nicotine patch. So when you have Epidemic in you, you no longer have an addiction to cigarettes. But there was a fault in the development that led it so your brain no longer asked for like blood and oxygen anymore, so you would just die.
Wait.
What?
Okay.
Question.
It's like that episode of Doctor Who.
First of all, clap for me real quick. Alright, so this thing was supposed to cure nicotine, but it ends up killing you.
Yes, it was meant to like...
How did this pass medical tests? Was this released to the public? What?
I don't think it was. It doesn't seem like it was, because it was... we only know of this person on this ship that had this virus.
How did they get access to it?
I guess this was the ship that was developing it, but then the whole crew died because they all contracted it.
Okay.
And so... the reason Miss Caroline Carroll was frozen was because Epidemic froze her entire body after he wiped out the entire crew, waiting for another victim to strike at. So now he's in Lister. I say he because Crichton is able to hook up a device that allows Lister to talk to this virus because it is sentient as well. And it talks like a talk show host. It like asks them quiz questions like, hey Lister, remember that chicken you ate that one time? How come he gets to die so you can live, but you don't get to die so I can live? What's up with that hypocrisy? You know? Ethical questions.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah. So, in order to cure Dave Lister of the Epidemic virus, they first come up with the idea. They have a sort of, not really an antidote, but a way to like get the virus to like flee to other parts of Lister's body. So they try to get it to flee to his left arm, and then they plan to cut it off and flush it into space so it won't exist. But Dave Lister will be missing an arm. They eventually get it to move to his right arm. That's their last chance to get rid of it, so they cut off his right arm, flush that into space, and now he's missing his right arm. But also, they didn't flush out all of Epidemic yet, because there's still a little bit in him that's quickly spreading, so they didn't actually fix the problem. They just cut off his arm.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie indeed. Next, they think the Leviathan was trying to head towards something, like a planet that might have had a cure for it. So they decide to head towards the planet that Leviathan was heading towards, and they find that it's desolate. So their last chance to save Dave Lister is Kachansky comes up with a plan. She stops Lister's heart, uses Caroline Carroll's arm, injects it with blood and adrenaline, and then pretends it's her arm, has Epidemic go into that arm, and then flushes that into space. The Epidemic virus thinks that's her arm. It wasn't, and flushes out, and it's all good. And then they restart Dave Lister's heart. So he's cured of the Epidemic. He doesn't have it anymore, but he's now missing an arm. Okay. Nanarchy, the final episode of season 7. To try and figure, now the big conflict is that they're trying to figure out how to get Lister a new arm. They're trying a robotic arm, that's not working.
We still haven't found the Red Dwarf with the AI in it.
They haven't found the Red Dwarf yet, but Crichton mentions that his self-repair unit uses nanites, and they could use those nanites to repair Lister's arm by changing some molecules into arm molecules and making an arm out of them, right?
Like stem cells.
Like stem cells, yes. They're not the stem cells themselves, they just sort of can change the atomic structure of objects. So it can turn computer chips into sand and vice versa, right? But Crichton doesn't know where his nanites are anymore. They went missing somewhere around here. So we gotta go back to what was the ship called? The Esperanto. When we got attacked by the Despair Squid to see if we can find them over there. And what the ship finds, or what the crew finds, is not the nanites, but an entire planet the ship is calling Red Dwarf. This was never explained until several years later, but thankfully we have a webcomic called Prelude to Nanarchy that explains what that happened is. What? Zoom in on me real quick. What? Red Dwarf is a planet? What? Okay. So, remember when they were all covered in despair ink, right?
Yep.
Yeah. They were all covered in despair ink, and so that included Crichton's nanites, who despaired about their position in life and felt like they weren't doing enough. They wanted to become something more. So they forged a mutiny, headed out of the Starbug, headed into Red Dwarf, and deconstructed into a planet. This trapped Holly on the Red Dwarf, stranding the whole crew on Starbug, and then they drove right past it because they're not looking for a planet when they're looking for Red Dwarf. So now everything in Red Dwarf is a planet now.
So this is how the season 6 beginning started. It was them.
Yes.
Jeez, okay.
Passing Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Fun.
So they've only been looking for Red Dwarf for 2 seasons at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So, they figure out that if we just get the nanites to rebuild Red Dwarf, everything will be good, and then we can get Lister's arm repaired as well. So they start with the arm, Lister gets his arm repaired, except the nanites are so guilty about what they did that they go a little overboard. They make Lister into like a JoJo character. He has big muscles, his neck is enormous, he's a hunking lad.
Does he have a stand?
He does not have a stand. He's Joseph Joestar.
Alright.
So, or Jonathan or whatever. So they tell the nanites, hey, you went a little overboard on this, you might not want to do this. But if they went overboard on Lister, what did they do to Red Dwarf? Any guesses?
Did they make it entirely sentient? I don't know.
No. Red Dwarf is now enormous. Starbug is now a fly compared to this ship.
Yeah, it's a planet, right?
It was a planet, but now it's a ship. So the ship is now like gigantic.
Instead of city size.
Planet size, yeah. So they go into Red Dwarf and they realize, this thing's enormous. Why is this thing so big? They get sucked up into an air duct. The nanites start realizing, oh, we made this thing too big, and start shrinking it.
Oh, like
boy.
literally too big?
It's
like
literally
how I Shrunk the Kids hijinks?
Yeah, kind of thing happening. But they're in an air duct right now as the ship is shrinking back to normal size, so they're about to get crushed. Season 8. Season 8.
That's how it ends.
That's how season 7... Well, the season 7 just ends with them seeing the big red dwarf, and then season 8 starts with them being sucked into an air duct about to be crushed to death. But now they have Holly back again. Holly's a guy for some reason again. I guess, like, they got the actor or whatever to play the part. But, yeah. So, they eventually survive. They get out of the air duct, but they crash they crash Starbug into, like, a pile of, like, oil barrels, and it just explodes into fire, and everyone's screaming and running out of there. And then as they're running out of there, they meet some of Lister's old friends on board the ship, because the nanites didn't just resurrect Red Dwarf, it resurrected the crew as well.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah!
Like actual resurrection?
Actual resurrection.
Well, as close as you get by putting your molecules back together. There's a whole philosophical question of if that's really them.
Yeah, it's still, like, they have the same memories that they did before.
So
but,
there's
like,
two Chikanskis now. However you say her name.
well, I mean, Rimmer gets revived. Kachansky seemingly doesn't. We don't know if there's two Kachanskys aboard, but it's never mentioned of there being a second one. What? So I'm assuming that there isn't, because they saw Kachansky on the ship, and then when the nanites were repairing it, thought, oh, Kachansky's already here, we don't need to worry about her.
Oh.
Something like that. Okay, so they just crashed Starbug, which is a huge violation. Lister wasn't even supposed to be driving a Starbug. He's a vending machine repairman. What does he do piloting a ship? All of these people are getting charged with that crime of, like, smuggling a ship and then, like, coming aboard Red Dwarf without authorization. And they're about to get 2 years in prison in order to prove that the whole crew died, and then 3 million years passed, and then everyone was resurrected by nanites. They need the nanites to prove it. So they need to go and find them.
I thought they were on the ship.
Well, they were repairing the ship, but we don't know where they are. Okay, so the nanites are, like, super small, like microbe, like virus size, so we can't actually see them. Alright. So, back in the red...
Couldn't Holly just tell them? Plot hole!
Well, they have to leave Red Dwarf to find them, so I'm assuming they're not on the ship anymore. They're just somewhere else. Back in the Red is the name of this episode. It's a 3-part episode. Basically what happens is they're being tried and convicted with this crime, and how their trial is going, because it's so absurd, because the captain realizes that they are in fact 3 million years away from Earth, with no idea how they got there all of a sudden. Rimmer is revived, so Lister's trying to get Rimmer to help them out. Rimmer, like, begrudgingly agrees on the condition that Lister uses his knowledge of the ship's confidential information that he just had access to, being the only member on the ship, and is starting to, like, explain to him why, or, like, teaching him all this stuff in exchange for, like, help finding the nanites. Alright?
Alright.
Okay.
Don't say that many Ks.
Alright. What happens? Right. So, because of how strange this trial is, their crime they're committing, how strange their defense is as well, and how it seems to actually line up a bit, their trial is being is being done through psychoactive drugs or something. So they're all under the effects of drugs and put in a machine that reads their thoughts. And so they're seeing how the simulation goes in their brain to see, like, if this is true, then they would go out of the ship in search of nanites rather than just escape prison, right? So they're so when it's revealed that they are in fact trying to find the nanites, their crime is seen as, like, you're telling the truth. You didn't actually, like, smuggle a ship aboard. You've just been gone for 3 million years. But because Rimmer had confidential information and Lister had confidential information, and they were both using this to their own ends, that's an entirely different crime worth 2 years in prison. So they're put in prison anyways. The entire gimmick of the 8th season of Red Dwarf is that everyone is in prison now. Crichton is classified as a woman because he hasn't have a pee-pee. And they... Also, it's sort of weird because everyone on the ship was, like, from the 2140s, and Crichton was from, like, the 2300s, so he's from the future to them. So, like, his whole existence is weird. Kat sort of lives alone, and then Lister and Rimmer are stuck in a prison with each other.
No one is wondering about the cat person, and also where the hell is the entire cat space ace?
Whoa. So they do actually ask about the cat. They they try to do a medical on him, and they find it's weird. This guy has 6 nipples. His organs are color coded, and his heartbeat is has a rhythm to it. It's instead of the typical dorky human heartbeat.
Freeform jazz.
It's he just has freeform jazz in his organs.
Anyway.
Strong ass legs.
Go.
Alright, welcome back.
Hey everybody! We're just getting to the 8th series of Red Dwarf.
8th season.
8th season of Red Dwarf. We're going to read or learn about them in prison. And all these episodes, most of them don't matter. They're just hijinks that ensue as part of them being in prison. So the next episode is Cassandra. So Lester decides to sign up the whole crew for the Canaries. Because, prison choir is kind of fun. Let's have a little fun while we're in prison. The Canaries is not a prison choir group. You know how miners would drop a canary into a mine shaft to see if it was safe to go through before letting the important people pass?
No.
The Canaries is a group of prisoners who go into dangerous situations to see if they can survive before they let the important people go in. Question?
Can I have the
Tyler
mic?
Tyler has a question.
Are they the Canaries also because Canaries are red birds and they're red shirts?
And a Red Dwarf.
That could be it too, but
Do they all wear red?
they all wear orange, so it's close.
Huh. Okay.
Missed opportunity.
Oh, I guess on the subject of Star Trek, or there was a little anecdote from the great Sir Patrick Stewart, who on break from filming The Next Generation went back to England, and he happened to see Red Dwarf appear on TV, and he thought that they were ripping him off, so he was about to call his lawyers, but then he found it was so funny that he just couldn't do it. That's a fun little anecdote.
Did he make Star Trek? Or
No,
Yeah.
Sir Patrick Stewart didn't make Star Trek, but he was about to call his lawyers to tell him someone ripped these guys off.
why do you care, bro? Get your bag and mind your business.
Go catch a bag, yeah.
Go catch a bag.
Old white guys, am I right?
Alright, so that's pretty much everything that important that happens in Cassandra. The main idea is that they find an AI that can predict the future. Crichton TV, so because Crichton is a woman, he has to go into the women's showers, or he's classified as a woman, he has to go into the women's showers, right? So when the guys hear about it, not these guys, but the other guys in the prison hear about this, they decide to knock out Crichton and reprogram him to film the women's showers so that they can watch it.
Disgusting.
Disgusting indeed. It is very disgusting. It is not. It's disgusting. I'm disgusted by it.
Gross.
Yeah, that's the main idea of the episode. Pete. They find a time wand that can suck up time as if it would it can save time as if it was data and then shoot it out, download and upload time.
Can you give me an example of that in use?
So they use the time wand to download time from a bird to turn it back into a dinosaur, and then upload it back to turn it back into a bird, or at least that's how it's explained in the show, kind of, but it can just do whatever with time, it seems. They freeze the entire ship. They just can do whatever with time, with the time wand. That's just how it's explained. It doesn't make any sense. That's just how it's explained. And it gets dismantled at the end of the episode. Nothing really important happens.
Doraemon did something similar, and it made more sense.
Alright. Only the good. The final episode of season 8. So remember how Rimmer wants to become a captain? Kind of hard to do that when you have prison on your record. So he tries to get the captain to rewrite his permanent record or to expunge the crimes that he's been sentenced for. The captain doesn't do this and tells Rimmer to his face, "You are not cut out to be a captain. You will never be a captain.
Aww.
Go. You loser, you suck." Right. So Rimmer leaves and he goes to get a chucking knot bar from the vending machine, and he goes to put a quarter in and then do the string thing where he pulls it out, but the vending machine is sentient and immediately recognizes that this is happening, so it starts screaming that there's a thief around. Rimmer eventually gets him to shut up, but the vending machine responds, "From this day forward, you are my nemesis. One day I will kill you." Or something like that. "One day I will get back at you for this. Like, you are scum of the earth now to me." Okay, so later on in the episode, they find that a chameleonic microbe is eating away Red Dwarf. It's just like a virus. It's like acidic, and it's like destroying the whole ship. So when this is discovered, the captain decides to like help to just evacuate everyone on the ship but the prisoners, because they don't have enough ships. They don't have enough landing ships to evacuate everyone else. So they're leaving the prisoners to die, right? So the rest.
Real quick, why are we evacuating the ship again? I think I missed that.
Because the entire ship is being destroyed by a microbe. Like, everything is about to be destroyed. So the crew decide, in order to find a cure for whatever this microbe is, they have to go to a mirror universe where the disease becomes the cure, and the cure is the disease. Right? So they're doing like a mirror thing. So they can bring a sample of this microbe to a mirror universe, ask them what this is that we're holding, tell us the name of the cure, and we can go back and like use the cure. So they have Rimmer do this, and Rimmer goes over, gets
why would they send Rimmer to do such an important task?
This didn't work out very well last time.
This did not work out very well
last time.
last
Is there any explanation of this, or is he just a main
I don't
character?
actually think so. They just have Rimmer do it. So Rimmer goes to like get the virus that they need, come back to the past, and then they get the name of the cure and then go back and then have the cure. So Rimmer does this, he goes back, he learns that it's called like Rixie Dixie Troxide or something like that. Very long. He comes back, all of a sudden the ship is in flames and everyone has already evacuated. The rest of the dwarfers have gone to the mirror universe because this thing was about to collapse. This ship was about to collapse. And now the portal to the mirror universe is shut down because the chameleonic microbes are now eating the device that they used to get there. So Rimmer is stranded on the Red Dwarf as it's being eaten, but he still has the cure. There's still hope. He runs over, but then the vending machine reminds him that the name of that cure was from a mirror universe, and now that he's back here, that's now the name of the virus, not the cure.
Oh.
So Rimmer, out of hope and out of options, is on this burning, flaming ship that's about to go down, and in his last moments, he sees death. Death comes to him and says, "Arnold Rimmer, your time has come. You are going to die." Rimmer responds by kicking him in the nuts, running away, and saying, "Remember, only the good die young." Which is a great line, I think. Okay? We literally didn't... We learned nothing about what happened after that. We never know. We never knew. This was never explained. 10 years pass, and then we get a new Red Dwarf. Back to
10
Earth.
real years?
10 real world years.
So cool.
So this was in 1999. This was in 2009. And I was into the show around like 2004.
You were telling me about that last episode in like middle school art class. I remember that.
I bet you freaked out when you heard that there was a...
Yeah, I did.
Episode.
Except I couldn't watch it because it was in Britain land only. So I had to wait until like it got uploaded to YouTube or something to watch it.
Yep. Legal ways.
Legal ways, right. So
Shaka University endorses following the law.
Piracy, please. Emulate your
I'm
games.
gonna be king of the pirates.
Emulate your games. Pirate your movies.
Steal from corporations, eat the rich. Back to Earth, right? So, we don't know what happened between Season 8 and Back to Earth. We literally never learn what happens. All we know is the crew are back on Red Dwarf. Everything is just as it was in Season 3, 4, and 5. Rimmer is a hologram, which makes sense because he did die. Kachansky is gone. We don't know where Kachansky is. Well, we know... Actually, she died. I forgot about that. She died. There's a memorial on it on Red Dwarf that Lister has set up for her. No one else is on a Red Dwarf except for these 4 members now. And not even Holly. Holly died as well.
What Red Dwarf are we on? What universe?
The Mirror Universe Red Dwarf, assumingly, because that's the universe they were in.
Is the rest of the crew alive with them? No.
We don't know what happened to them. They're just gone
can I have
now.
the mic for a second? I just want to be very clear. I'm going to ask clarifying questions.
Yes, this is important, yeah.
So, a virus hit the original Red Dwarf that the nanites brought back.
Yes.
To save them, they all went to this mirror universe.
Yes.
the real Red Dwarf died. They all evacuated and went somewhere. And
Yeah.
now the remaining characters are living on the Red Dwarf from the parallel universe they got the cure from.
Yes.
Status quo game.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a lot.
Fucking riding gymnastics just to reestablish the
Yeah,
status
there is a
quo.
lot of writing gymnastics.
Christ.
So the idea back to Earth, they find like an octopus demon monster
Yeah.
in their water tank, and they go in to get it out, and they're not successful at it. It runs away. They almost die, and then by the time they come back, a new hologram suddenly beams aboard the ship. She's Russian. I don't remember her name, but she declares Rimmer is unfit to be the hologram of the ship, and he's going to be deactivated within 24 hours. Meanwhile, the new hologram has already figured out a way to create a portal that will lead them straight back to Earth. As she does this, the portal, she uses a little computer to make the portal or whatever, and the computer says that they're not within a valid reality. So the computer is now sending them to another dimension that is valid. And when they leave it, they
Hold
enter.
up. In Series 8, when they were in prison,
Yeah,
who is the AI on the ship?
Holly, male Holly, guy Holly.
And sorry, I meant the hologram. Who is the hologram on the ship at the time?
We don't know. Presumably there wasn't a hologram on the ship, but it's possible that there was, and we just never met them.
They're irrelevant. The hologram.
Yeah, the hologram was irrelevant during that time.
Okay.
So they're being told that they're not within a valid reality, and they're being brought to a new one. So they go into the portal, and they come out in Earth. Our Earth, this Earth, where Red Dwarf is just a TV show, and everything that they experienced was just some British sci-fi comedy. They have an existential crisis about it, and a bunch of funny stuff happens in this episode. They meet their Lister meets his actor, and it's a really funny scene where Craig Charles, the person who plays Lister, is reading lines for another show he's doing when Lister walks in, and he's like, what?
Sorry.
It's great.
Spider-Man.
It's great. But the whole conflict of this episode is that even though they're back to Earth, they learned that because they're a TV show, they're currently being written, and this is their last episode. They're being killed off. So they have to go find their creator and beg them not to kill them. So they go over it. The whole episode is sort of inspired by Blade Runner. They're Cat throughout the episode, or Cat throughout the miniseries, because this is considered a miniseries. It's a 3-parter. Cat throughout the miniseries is making origami squids and just placing them in places. We literally don't know why. Later on, they meet an Asian guy in a furry coat that helps them out on their adventure. That's from Blade Runner, right? Tyler, you're the Blade Runner expert. And they even reenact the scene where, isn't there a scene in Blade Runner where they're, going up an elevator, and then there's, an Asian woman on, a TV screen or something that's, massive? Yeah, this whole episode is, heavily inspired by Blade Runner.
It's just one big Blade Runner.
It's one big Blade Runner thing. And so they
Is there any thematic reason for this, or that's just...
The only explanation we get for it is, when they finally meet their creator, he says that, Blade Runner inspired your life, and it will inspire your death as well. I have no clue if Red Dwarf was actually inspired by Blade Runner. I couldn't find any other evidence other than just this line from the show. But, I mean, that would be cool if that were true, right? Have you noticed any Blade Runner themes throughout this show up until this point? Okay, thank you. So that's probably not the case. Yeah, so they decide, the creator decides, I'm not going to save you, you are going to die. So they knock out the creator and write their own ending. Then they realize they're hallucinating. This is all a hallucination brought by another despair squid.
Yep.
What?
I didn't see this coming at all.
No, you didn't, Paul.
What are these writers doing?
Writing the show, dude.
I guess.
They've been writing the show since 1988, dude. I think they brought on a new writer, but right now it's mostly Doug Naylor doing a lot of this. Yeah, that's the episode. Back to Earth. There's a funny line at the end that's wow. I mean, do those people? Wait, who's real? Because we hallucinated those people that thought we were just in a TV show, but we're in fact not really in a TV show. So those people, those people are dumb if they think we're in an actual TV show. That would be silly, right?
Yeah, that would be really
Right?
Fourth wall break. Am I right, guys?
Okay. So season 10, 11, and 12 were sort of like throwback seasons where they're doing a bunch of like wacky stuff that they were doing in 3, 4, and 5. These aren't too important, but there are some fun things that happen throughout them that I wanted to discuss. So season 10, episode 1, Trojan, Rimmer meets his brother, and he's jealous of him and whatever. Season 10, episode 2, Father and Sons. So you remember how Dave Lister is his own dad, right? He celebrates Father's Day by writing himself a card, getting drunk so he doesn't remember what he wrote, and then when he wakes up, Crichton delivers the letter to him so he can read it. This is how he celebrates Father's Day. So he needs to get like his tooth out. He needs to get like his teeth out. So he goes to like the dentist office on the ship, and the dentist sort of talks about his son to the dentist, and like the dentist
what?
There's like a robot dentist. It's like an AI dentist thing. And the dentist tells him that you need to give your son some tough love. You need to toughen him up a bit so he becomes a better person, right? In fact, let's register him on file. We're gonna register your son on file. Oh, he has the same name as you? That's cool. So that happens, and then Lister wakes up after getting blackout drunk. He walks up and he gets a video message from his dad. He plays it. His dad tells him, oh, I forgot. This is very important. While this is happening, Crichton and Rimmer are setting up a new AI for the ship called Pre. She uses an algorithm to look through like the footage of what every crew member is doing, and then uses that to create to predict what they're going to do next based off of their behavior. So Lister uses Pre's prediction technology to predict what he's going to do, so he can make a video call of himself and then just talk to himself in the past. So he wakes up blackout drunk and he's having a conversation with himself through the video, and basically he's saying like, hey, you gotta get that filling done and you gotta do all this stuff, and if you don't, then I'm flushing your guitar into space, young sir. And then he knows that he doesn't actually do all this stuff, so he just flushes his guitar into space for not following directions. What? This is a great episode. It is one of my favorites.
Sober him flushes the guitar into space.
Yeah, and then he gets drunk because he wasn't following directions in the future.
Oh no!
So
okay.
he punishes him in the past.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant sober after, like hangover him.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So, because of that, eventually Lister follows so little directions that his future self kicks him out of the Space Corps. He resigns so that he's no longer part of the Space Corps, and because of that, there's no longer a registered crew member on the ship. This is a bad thing, because since Red Dwarf has no crew member, Lister is getting kicked out of the ship because he's not supposed to be there, and everyone else on the ship is about to be hurtled towards a sun because the ship has done its job and is now disposing itself to prevent any more space pollution.
Why was... Oh, to avoid space pollution.
Space pollution is a big deal. So Pre, because she predicts stuff, knows that Rimmer wants this done as soon as possible because he's all about getting his job done. And so she finds the closest star to hurtle them towards, and now they're all going to die. Lister finds his way back on the ship and saves everyone by saying, hey, I'm still a registered crew member on this ship because I'm my own dad, so I registered my son on this ship, so now I still have a name on file. Right? So all I have to do is go through this program, and then I can be officially a member of the JMC. If I do that, you'll have to turn yourself off because that's what I would do. And hi, hello, are we recording? Oh shoot. Oh.
Oh, we're back on?
Yeah, we had to stop for a little bit.
Oh,
but we're
shit.
getting up to our next episode. I don't know if this one is my favorite episode, or Father and Sons, or what is, but this is like one of the best episodes in the show. Lemons. Everyone ready for lemons? So the crew find a rejuvenation shower, and they can use it to revive Rimmer. But it's Swedish, which means it's coming in a flat pack and it's a self-assembly required. Right? So they build the rejuvenation shower, and they mess it up so bad that it doesn't actually rejuvenate the thing that's in the shower. It sends everything outside of the shower back to Earth in the year 23 AD.
Mike! Okay, so first off, how the fuck did you mess something up that bad? What?
They forgot some of the alignment. They had extra alignment brackets they forgot to put in.
So they treated it like a Lego set.
Yeah. Or, well, they treated it like if you went to IKEA and you made a table and then you noticed there were extra screws in the thing.
And then sat on it anyway.
Yeah.
This is messed
Sat on the
and
table.
twisted, but also I guess it works out, doesn't it?
What do you mean it works out?
Wait,
They're
where
in
does-
23 AD.
This is very
Oh,
apropos
80.
for the show.
Yeah. They're in like, this is before England was even called England. It's called Albania. What is going on right now? They find themselves 23 AD in Albania, and they have a remote that
Oh shoot! Whoa!
they have a remote that that can return themselves back to the present, but it has no batteries. So in order to power it, they need to find lemons. The only place to get lemons in 23 AD is India, which would be a 6-month walk. They have to walk 6 months to India to find lemons to power the remote.
Is this the season plot or just the episode?
Just the episode. So they find their way to India and they get lemons and they realize this place is so primitive. They have no bags. They don't have like TV or anything. This place is like so poor. They don't even have the color purple yet. They haven't discovered mixing red stuff and blue stuff. They only know of specific seashells that are colored purple that they use to make purple. Lister exclaims to all of this, "Jesus!" And then someone behind them says, "Excuse me?" So now the crew is hanging out with Jesus. the carpenter's
Wait, but
son
it's
himself.
23 AD.
Yes. Do you know about the missing years?
Oh yeah, JoJo, right? Okay.
What do you mean, JoJo?
Continue.
Yeah, from like when he was a kid to when he was 30, there was no record of where Jesus was. So like they could just do whatever, and it's still.
I hate you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jesus being born in 7 AD and not 0 AD.
Oh no, this is 23 AD. He's 23. Yeah, whatever.
No, but it's AD because it's after he died.
No, it's AD because he was born 0 AD.
In Latin, it means Year of Our Lord.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they find Jesus, and some Roman guards are coming after him to kill him. So they save him by fixing the remote and taking him back to Red Dwarf.
They did not.
They do. They did.
They team up with Jesus.
They team up with Jesus to save the day. And now Jesus is on Red Dwarf, and like he's impressed by the idea of bags because they don't have bags yet. That's such an impressive piece of technology that they have. But they find out that Jesus has. What?
Is Jesus canonically divine?
Yes. Yes? It's not stated, but it's stated that the Bible, everything that happened in the Bible was like, I don't remember if it was literally true or not, but like...
But does Jesus have godlike power?
It's never addressed if he does. If he does, then he doesn't use it.
Okay, so they skirted around that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's right around.
So,
And we're back.
Right, we're back. Jesus is on Red Dwarf, and he has what is it called? A kidney stone? He has a kidney stone, and they have to operate on him. He's apparently had this for 14 days, so it's too big to pass. So you have to operate on him.
Is there like a removing the stone joke here?
Yeah, they have a joke where like they're the whole crew is in the operating room, and Crichton asks Lister to hold the thing for him so he can insert the rod to get out the kidney stone. And then Lister is very not willing to do this because he barely knows the guy. And then Rimmer says it would be an honor to hold it up for you, Crichton. So yeah, after that, they leave Jesus to they just leave a bunch of books and stuff like so he can read if he gets bored. So they leave him to like rest and like regain his strength. Next time they come back, they see he's gone. The textbooks are open and they realize one of the books they left was a history book. So now Jesus is aware of all the wars that got started in his name and is going back in time, back to 23 AD using the rejuvenation shower to stop all those wars from happening by ruining his reputation, by declaring that he has committed all 10 sins, or he's broken all 10 commandments. Woo! And so the crew come back and explain to him, hey, this that you're important to a lot of people. The things you do are very important. Like, so some people did some bad things in your name. You've done a lot of good for the world, and you shouldn't ruin that just because of these things that happened. And then, like, Jesus says something, blah, 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 that, like, I can't live with Jesus of Caesarea being the name of, like, the person who started all this. And then they were, Jesus, could you repeat that? You said Jesus of Caesarea? Do you mean Jesus of Nazareth? It's not the Jesus.
It's not Jesus.
It's not Jesus.
It's not.
It's Jesus of Caesarea, not Jesus of Nazareth. Apparently, Jesus is a very common name around this time.
It's Joshua.
It's Joshua. Yeah, so they just sort of assume that he was the Jesus, because he's Jesus, right?
Yeah.
He's not the Jesus, though. The episode ends with them meeting the real Jesus of Nazareth and his brother Judas. There's also another gag where earlier in the episode, Arnold was, like, referring, like, remember how his full name is Arnold Judas Rimmer? The reason his middle name is Judas is because his parents were part of, like, a religion that believed the Bible was, like, literally real, took it word for word, but one of the things was that Judas and Jesus were twin brothers. They were twins, because Didymus, like, James Judas Didymus is his full name, right? James means twin and Didymus means twin. So it would make sense that he was his twin brother. Judas was the one that was actually crucified at the stake, and Jesus just came back the next day to say, I'm back.
Oh, cool.
So that's what his parents believed. And that's why they named him Judas. Because Judas, like, made that supreme sacrifice. Even though, like, Judas was, like, a traitor in every other religion. Or every other text. So that's great. There's a lot of, like, secret stuff and, like, the name Rimmer comes from, like, a rim job.
Oh my God.
Ed, you gotta pay attention, buddy.
Okay. How is this religion of Rimmer's parents given to the audience? How do we find out about this?
Like Arnold, when they first figure out that Jesus is sitting right behind him, Arnold is, like, talking about how, hey, I'll just tell him my middle name is Judas. That can get things going, you know? And then they remark, like, why is your middle name Judas? That's so weird.
So this is explained within this episode. This
Yes.
wasn't like a religion established seasons ago that is finally coming back.
There is another episode where Arnold is talking, or Rimmer is talking about his religion, or his parents' religion, and he remarks that they're Saturday Advent Hoppists, which they took the Bible word for word, but they had a spelling error in their Bible where instead of saying faith, hope, and charity, it said faith, hop, and charity. So they would hop everywhere on the seventh day.
Okay, so this isn't like super well established. This was just brought in for this episode.
Yeah, that's the only other time it was addressed.
Okay.
So, and then it ends with, like, because Jesus, at the end of the episode, Jesus and Judas sort of look the same, so it's implied that, like, that religion is correct. That's the correct religion. But, yeah. Next episode, Entangled, Cat and Crichton get quantum entangled, blah, blah, blah. Dear Dave, so another mail pod has finally arrived, and they're getting new letters. One specifically addressed to Lister, that's from Haley Summers, one of his old girlfriends, saying, Dave, I'm pregnant, I don't know if you're the father yet. So he starts scrambling through the rest of the mail that they got, trying to find another letter from her to see if she ever concluded if he was the father or
There
not.
are so many different ways that his son could be on the ship. I hate this.
What do you mean?
Wait, when did we see way back in series 1? Oh, yeah, that. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
what's up?
Heyo.
Oh god.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
We're going to do good. I'm doing a lecture on a British sci-fi comedy.
Run.
That's sick.
Sick as...
We just met Jesus and his twin brother.
Sick. Okay. I'm gonna get a mask and I'm gonna come watch because I'm very bored.
Alright.
Oh, that won't change. I'm kidding.
Okay, you were asking?
Way back in season 1, like second episode, the time.
Yeah, the
where
Future
he sees
Echoes?
Future Echoes. He sees his son die, right?
Yeah.
But he sent his sons from the his twin sons from the parallel universe over, right? He
Yeah.
sent them back, right?
Yes.
So when did that vision? What happened with the vision?
That's a plot hole you just found, buddy, that I never did until just now. You just found a plot hole I didn't know about.
Really?
Yes!
No one questioned this.
I didn't question this. I forgot all about it.
I did.
Oh.
I assumed it was going to be revealed in the later season.
Yeah.
This looks fucking hilarious.
Wait, actually.
Okay, so after this lecture, I decided to do some research on this myself. I tried to find some explanation, some fan theory or whatever, that explains this, and I couldn't find anything. But while I was watching over the lecture again, I had sort of an epiphany, I guess I'd say. What I think happened, or what I think the show was trying to say, or how the show was trying to explain what happened, is that Jim and Bexley were aging rapidly on the ship. And the way they found out that this was a problem was that one of them grew to, like, whatever age they thought Lister was at that point, and they thought he died. They saw Jim there die at that age and was like, okay, that's enough. We gotta bring the other kid over to the other universe so he can survive there. I think that's what the show was trying to say, and, like, in this sort of roundabout way. That's the explanation, at least, that makes the most sense to me. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Is I just found a major plot hole to this shit show that he's trying to pass off as a good comedy. Can you close the door all the way?
It's not that funny. There's funny stuff in it. Like, it's situational comedy. Like, they find Jesus, and that's hilarious. And they pull out a kidney stone from Jesus. That stuff's funny.
Come back here.
It's not funny when they talk about how that event was like
Thanks, I did it myself.
James Last or whatever. I don't know. All right, are you guys ready to continue?
So that echo is never.
It is never addressed. It's like they just forgot about that, and I forgot about it too. You're a genius, Paul. Cool. You get a merit. I'm marking you student of the day.
Hell yeah!
All right, so. Just to catch up, Mikayla, on what's going on. Dave Lister is 3 million years into the future on the mining ship Red Dwarf, and they just received a letter that his son or his one of his ex-girlfriends is pregnant, and he doesn't know if he's the father yet. At the end of the episode, he finally finds the second letter that she sent, revealing it, and he's like, "I really hope it's me. I really hope it's me." And then he opens it up, and it's not him. He's not. She wasn't pregnant with his son.
What would he do anyways? 3 million years later?
Because that meant that there was a descendant of him that lived a full life, whereas he was just stranded at 3 million years from Earth and just stuck on this for all eternity.
Nothing but himself too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he's also his own father.
Yeah, he's his own dad. Paradoxy stuff.
Time travel.
See, final episode of season 10, the beginning. Okay, so, I don't know how much of this is relevant. They basically get attacked by simulants, and they have a molecular destabilizer they can shoot to Ed.
Oh, shoot. Oh,
Okay, so I do note that, which episode? Was it episode 1 called The End?
Yeah, the first episode of the show was called The End.
Was supposed to be, the beginning supposed to be the final episode?
From my recollection, this was supposed to be the last episode of the show, but then they just made more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Just clarification.
It would be thematically fitting. This would be the last episode.
This stuff?
You're educated now. You're an expert in the field. Ufology.
Oh
yes, it's all real.
Roland.
Okay, so they fight simulants and stuff, and there's a lot that goes on in this episode. But the only reason I find a need to talk about it is that so Rimmer has a thing like a video log from his father that he never watched because he was supposed to watch it when he finally became an officer. He never did that, so he decides at some point in this episode, I don't care anymore, I just want to watch this video log. And so he turns it on, and his father says, congratulations, you're now an officer, and everything you want is yours. Now that you know this, it's time to tell you that I'm not your dad. Your dad was the gardener Dungo. Oh, he was just doing the thing, right? So, Rimmer doesn't know how to take this at first, but he spends some time thinking about it and comes out of the ship feeling better about himself. Because his whole thing was that his dad was disappointed in him. He felt like trash because of how his dad thought of him. He was supposed to become an officer and he never did, and his dad was disappointed in him. But now that he knows that his real dad was just the gardener, he feels a lot better about because the gardener would have Dungo would have been impressed with how far he got. He's on a mining ship 3 million years into the future. That's impressive. That's pretty cool. So he feels a lot better about himself. He feels like he lived up to his family name. And that's
because Rimmer got cloned by the nanites.
And then he died again.
So this is the second hologram we've had.
But he was technically alive during the 3 million years in the future period.
Wait, technically alive?
Yeah, because Rimmer was brought back 3 million years in the future, died again, but he was alive 3 million years in the future, so his dad could
That's
be
what
proud
I
of
was
him for
saying.
being in the future.
Yeah, or like, you know, as a hologram still, because that's still considered him. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So, I kind of rushed through back to Earth because I didn't want the lecture to be over 3 hours, and it ended up being over 3 hours anyways. And I didn't really explain what happened to Christine Kachansky. It's sort of a side plot that's going on throughout the miniseries, but essentially Lister thinks Kachansky died because Crichton told him that she like got launched out of an airlock at some point, or something like that happened. But then later in the miniseries, it's revealed that Crichton lied to Lister to save his feelings, and what actually happened is that Kachansky left in like one of the landing ships and just sort of went on her own course. I think it's sort of explained that she just didn't want to be around the situation, like something like that. She just didn't want to be on Red Dwarf with them, so she just sort of left. But yeah, that's what happened. Hope that clears things up. That's the end of season 10. We're starting with season 11. At this point in the show, they're just like, it's just sort of seems to be like tradition at point to do stuff. Like there's also like episodes where they're specifically like doing stuff to dress up. Like season 6 had Gunmen of the Apocalypse where they were dressing up as cowboys. Season 8 was all about them in prison, so they're in prison uniforms. Season 11 starts off with the episode Twintica, where they go back to 1920s or whatever, and they're dressed up in like 1920s bowler caps and stuff. Pretty cool. But yeah, the episode is just about like they go back to 1920s, except instead of prohibition banning alcohol, it bans technology. Ed, you're waving the thing is what he's saying. Okay. So next episode is Samsara. Also not important. I just think it's a fun story, so I do want to go over it. The crew find a ship that has crashed into like the ocean somewhere, and they go in to investigate, and they see a bunch of skeletons just like in sex positions. All of them. They're like stabbing each other, fornicating. They're not alive. They're dead. They're skeletons, but they're just like fucking on the floor of the ship.
Fucking on the ocean floor.
Fucking on the ocean floor.
In position.
They're in position.
They're not moving though, right? This is not.
They're dead. They're just in position.
It's not
And there are also some people that are like stabbing each other and like all this other stuff. So as this goes on, Lister and Cat split up, they split up. Lister and Cat, Rimmer and Crichton. Lister and Cat find like a slot machine with like an orphan fund, like at the top, like one of those orphan fund cups, like one of those donation cups, right?
But you meant
So,
there was an orphan
cat-
at the top of the machine.
Yes, no. The cat takes money from the orphan fund and then puts it in the slot machine and gets like I keep on spitting. I'm sorry. Gets like a 777 like jackpot. Makes a bunch of money, right? So
Hold up.
okay.
So, the orphans that this orphan money was for are dead.
Yeah. So the money was going nowhere.
So, like, this is not immoral, and the gambling
This-
machine was also on the ship with everyone dead.
Yeah.
So he's just, okay.
He didn't really steal money from anyone. He just like it's sort of like he just took money out of the cup that was meant for the orphan fund,
is
so it
there a
seems a little
reason
unwholesome.
in the show for it to be an orphan, or is it just for this joke?
Well, yes, there is a reason.
Okay.
I'm just gonna hold
Okay. So,
it out. Yeah, you can
yeah,
have your chips.
he gets the jackpot. Lister decides to put all the money he made from the jackpot back in the orphan fund, and then gets his hair stuck in like a food shredder. Cat saves him by cutting his hair off, and this results in the knife like flying out of getting stuck in the food shredder, flying out and stabbing him in the foot. Lister pulls the thing out and like recovers his foot, and then the power suddenly goes out on the ship. Meanwhile, Crichton and Rimmer are exploring the ship when they find something called a karma drive. So the idea of this was that it would distort reality to change what happened based off of whether or not you were doing good moral things. So if you did your job and you were nice to people and you said please and thank you, you would be rewarded with good food, good air, you would just feel better about yourself. But if you did immoral things, then you would you would be punished in like all sorts of ways. Your food would be disgusting, stuff like that. Okay. This is so like we have a flashback to like this couple that was committing adultery, and because they were in love and committing adultery, which is like immoral, they're getting punished because their food is now like inedible and everything sucks and is disgusting.
2 questions.
2 questions?
This couple was in the past, right? They're
This
dead
couple
now.
was in the past. Like, I don't know what
Second.
decade specifically.
How were they committing adultery? Were they part of 2 separate couples? Or
Yeah.
were they just unmarried?
They were both married, and then 2 other people, and then were just committing adultery
Okay,
on the ship.
gotcha.
So, because they were in love, they could not just stop having sex and everything being fine. So what they decided to do was they went to the karma drive and flipped it in reverse. So doing good was punished and doing bad was rewarded. So, because of this, everyone that was doing good on the ship just suddenly started getting punished, and because of that, the ship started crashing into the ocean. The couple figure out that they could escape if their escape was deemed completely immoral. So they took the only escape pod on the ship and left, while the rest of them figured out that they have to do immoral things to survive.
So they all started fucking.
They all just started like having a big orgy. This is a good episode, as you can tell.
I hate that you see the logic in all this. I feel like you would be one of the guys stabbing and fucking.
No, I would just be.
Just fucking.
I'd be fucking 2 people at the same time.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
With knives. Yep.
Alright,
One in each hand.
next episode. Boy, next episode. Give and take.
Like a king.
Just fucking say oi.
This show has gotten the better of me. I'm turning British. I'm becoming a member of the European Union as we speak.
We're gonna have to execute you.
Hey, shit, it's airborne.
Can we get back to the lecture, guys? We gotta get through this. We're like 3 hours in.
Oi, get to it. Wait.
Get to it then.
Yeah, alright, we'll get to it then. Give and take. Basically, Lister loses his kidneys and needs Cat to replace him for him. Okay, Officer Rimmer. Next episode is called Officer Rimmer. The crew find a ship called the SS Nautilus or something that was also owned by the JMC, but they don't have the standard crew that you would think of. This ship has a bioprinter on it, and whenever they need a crew member to appear to do something, the printer prints out a new, like just a member of the ship, to come out and do the thing they need to, and then die. And then just like stop existing or whatever. We good? Okay. So, the crew find the Nautilus, and it's about to crash into an asteroid and kill all of them, including the people on Red Dwarf. So, Rimmer decides in order to save them, he fires a mining torpedo at them to launch them and just destroy them so they don't kill us, right? Making sense? He misses entirely. The shot, like, hits an asteroid and knocks into, like, the ship's thruster, causing them to careen off course, saving both of their lives. So they don't crash into the asteroid belt. They're going in a different direction, right? Everyone following?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just making sure this all makes sense. And because of this heroic act of bravery that Rimmer did, the captain of the Nautilus decides to promote Rimmer to officer. He finally becomes an officer, guys!
Shit.
Hell yeah! This goes up to his head so far that, like, he sets up the ship so he has, like, the grunt lift and then the officer's lift. So now he's the only person that gets to use the nice lift, and then he specifically sets up a grunt lift that's terrible and shitty.
And he's
that everyone else has to
right
use.
now, so he doesn't even need a lift.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has to move around the place. He doesn't get to
Oh, is
teleport
he
around.
still the crystal?
Yeah, he still has the light bee in him.
Okay.
Okay. So because of this, everyone starts getting fed up with them and start like, Rimmer, what are you doing? What's with this? Rimmer decides, I can take this even further. I'm going to use the bioprinter from the Nautilus to create a bunch of clones of myself that are lower rank than me, that will just live in the officers club, and then like no one else is allowed but Rimmer, and all of you can just sit away and do dumb stuff.
Didn't we already have a Rimmer society for 600 years?
And
Yes, and it
Then he get
failed.
imprisoned in his own society. for those
Yes.
600
I'm so glad you guys remembered how bad of an idea this is, because Rimmer does it again, and this time it turns out so bad he decides to get like bodyguards. Okay, we're good? Alright, this time he decides to make bodyguards of himself. So he decides to, but he gets so impatient about this that he starts jamming the button on the bioprinter, causing all of them to like have a paper jam and form and congeal into like one monster like form of Rimmers that just start going around the ship and attacking him. So in order to get the rest of the crew to save his life, he demotes himself so that like the rest of them are like, all right, fine, we'll help you then. You might need our help since you're no longer an officer, right? And so that's...
Was this like a stupid scene where they're like, we'll only help you, Rimmer, if you demote yourself?
Yeah, it's like, sorry, you can't use the grunt lift right now. You have to use the captain's lift, but the captain's lift, he's not working. He needs to use the grunt lift because the other guy is on the captain's lift, right? So it's like, you gotta demote yourself to use this, and they're like, alright, fine, I'm demoted. Yeah. Okay, next episode, Crisis. Crichton has a midlife crisis.
Wait, Crichton?
Crichton, the robot, yes.
Okay.
So, because he's still sentient, he still, like, remembers that he will die. And now that he's broken his programming and is no longer, like he doesn't believe in Silicon Heaven anymore, he starts to realize that he's at his midlife. Like, he's been alive for 3 million years, and he will only have 3 million more years to live. So he is starting to, like, question his own, like, what is it called? Like, mortality, right. Yeah, so in order to help them out, they find another ship called the Nova 3 that also has a mechanoid on it, much like how they found Crichton to begin with. And they said, hey, we'll go over here and show you how sucky this person's life is, or this robot's life is, so you would feel better about yourself. This backfires completely. The robot in this ship broke his programming to the point where he could just, like, he just was left alone for 3 million years and could just create any art he wanted to. He started making music, he started socializing, he did all this sort of stuff that Crichton never got to do. So Crichton feels even worse about himself now.
Does he start murdering people for art?
No, he just, this guy is just like actually like a cool, like, robot dude.
Oh, cool.
He, like, just makes cool art. He's a bit snobbish, but that's about it. On their way back to Red Dwarf, since they were visiting the Nova 3, the Starbug suddenly careens off course to the SIU, which stands for...
Technical stuff, keep going.
Alright, which stands for the Search for Intelligent Universe. There was a group of people who believed that the universe itself was sentient and could talk to you, and so they made this satellite to try and communicate with it. They find, like, they use, like, a telephone thing to try and, like, call out to the universe, and they found that it's been on hold for 3 million years. The universe has just been waiting for someone to pick up the phone. So the crew come in and finally pick up the phone after all this time, and Crichton finally gets to ask the universe, like, what's the point in living, right?
I mean, 3 million years isn't that long for the universe.
For the universe, yes. So Crichton asks, if you're going to die in the future, why do anything? What's the point of life? And then the universe is like, wait, I'm gonna die? Wait! The universe realizes that it is too at the middle of its lifespan and will die, and so it gives the universe a midlife crisis. So, and then the episode ends on, like, a wholesome note that Crichton realizes that the whole point of living is love, because the universe created love, and so if we can love, then we can live a worthwhile life.
I gotta question the logic on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's a bit...
I think it's self-evident.
Yeah, don't worry, I get it. Alright, next episode, Can of Worms. This is the only episode I know of in the show that is centered around Cat. We're finally going to actually learn more about this character.
Finally.
The
God
Cat
damn.
Boy himself, Cat.
He's just called.
So the crew are flying through space, and they come across, like, a little fork in the road. They can take a shortcut through an asteroid belt that is filled with vampire gelfs, who specifically only eat virgins. They only want to eat the blood of virgins, right? They decide, like, it's better to take the shortcut than go the long way around. But Cat starts panicking and is like, wait, why do they only eat virgins? Not that I'm a virgin, guys. I've done it before, you know. Woo. Were you like, you know what I mean? Cat's a virgin is the whole point of this episode. He's never fucked. He's never done it. And this is surprising to us because he's such a fancy boy.
But not really, because
He's such a fancy boy.
who's he fucking?
I mean, before the cat race left, maybe, but I don't know. That does make sense. That cat is a virgin. So they find, okay, long story short, they find a female cat on their way the long way around.
You mean a female person with sharp teeth?
No, female, like cat person.
Oh.
Female Felis sapien.
Yes, a female person with sharp teeth.
A woman who is a cat person. They are cat people.
They're not cat people.
They are cat. They have evolved from cats.
Do you call us monkey people?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Cat calls them monkey people. He call him cat people.
That's dumb.
So it's not dumb because it makes sense to Cat that he'd call you a monkey.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me.
Call you like monkey people.
Do
you
I
know?
have a monkey tail?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, why don't you have a monkey tail? Why did you de-evolve your cool monkey tail?
Okay.
Fuck, dude.
So these are the cat people from the original thing that they fled, right?
Well, it's one cat person. They only find the one.
Okay, does this cat person remember why they left the Red Dwarf originally?
It's not like addressed at all. It's just like another cat person.
So we don't know why this cat person's here, if they're even from the same original...
It's explained. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in fact, we're about to get to it because Cat and the female cat decide to like go into a room to like, you know, have a little fun, if you know what I mean. Ha nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, say no more. Ha ha. You know, well, the Monty Python joke. Hi, Jackson.
Monty Python has like 2 good jokes.
It has a lot of good jokes.
So,
Yeah, it's like
Whatever.
No one in the room understood what you meant, so.
I did. He got it.
Okay.
So, as it turns out, Cat was that wasn't an actual female cat. It was a polymorph. It was shapeshifting into a cat to get them to bring him aboard the ship. And this polymorph is specifically female because it doesn't like try to eat Cat's emotion. It lays eggs inside of Cat. And Cat now thinks that that's what sex is. That you just lay eggs in people.
I mean, yes, but actually no.
So, the cat now has multiple polymorphs inside of him.
So just to clear up thing here, in this show, the men have given more birth than any woman has so far.
Yes, there has not been a single birth in this show that hasn't been done by a man.
no, the test
By a
tube
woman.
baby. The test tube baby.
That's true.
That's
there
also
was
done
one
by
that
a man.
was there was one. No, it was done by machinery.
Using only male parts.
No, Kachansky put her parts in it. Basically, what happened was Kachansky put her
Okay, well,
essence
if it's,
into
on
it,
a,
and
if it's on a constant loop, wouldn't it eventually just become Chikansky?
wouldn't what become eventually
If
become
she's-
Kachansky?
You fucked up her name.
Is this the cat guy?
Yes, that's the cat guy.
Fucking god.
What? He's such a handsome boy. Maybe that's just an unflattering image of him. Look up like his outfits. He wears the best clothes in the show. Yeah. What are you guys freaking out about? Like that's great. He looks amazing. Ed agrees with me.
Okay, so no.
So,
No.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so what's his name again? Lister.
Lister, right?
Lister and this other chick.
Kachansky.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try that again.
What's wrong?
Okay, continue.
Okay. So they're both using their genes to make Lister over and over again, right?
Well, in a time loop, yes.
Yes. So every time the Lister comes back, there's a little more.
No, it's just Lister. Kachansky and Lister make Lister. 2 + 1 = 1.
There's no time loop here.
That's weird.
Yeah. So Kat is now pregnant with a bunch of polymorphs. Their first idea is to just do a cesarean to get him out of him, but the polymorphs turn into tumors, so they can't like get them out of him. So he has to give birth in the normal
So,
way.
like normal
The
children.
normal way.
Yeah.
Turn into-
And the normal way for polymorphs is they just fly out of every orifice of your body. And so yeah, that's what happens in that episode. There's more conflict that happens, but it's not that important. For our purposes, at least. We're on the final season, guys. Season 12. We're almost at the end. And this season is probably the least dense. I can just go through these like shotgun style. Cured, they find a ship that is able to cure evil. So like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Messalina were all cured of their evil, right? They're in a roundabout way, they discover that Cat is a psychopath. So that's notable. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Siliconia, everyone becomes Crichton. Like, Rimmer becomes Crichton, Lister becomes Crichtons, and, like they become robots. Not specifically Crichton, but, like, robots.
Oh, okay.
No.
They're all shaped like Crichton. And this is sort of goes back to what I was talking about all the characters wearing specific outfits, where, like, this one, they're all Crichtons, right? Time Wave, this one's interesting. They find a time wave, and out of it comes a ship from the 26th century where they've outlawed criticism. You cannot criticize anyone or anything on the ship. It is illegal to do that.
Oh.
The ship is careening towards a planet that, if it crashes in, will ignite the atmosphere and kill everything within like a mile radius or something like
That's
that.
a shame.
So like everyone will die if that happens. So they have to go on the ship and not criticize, but encourage the captain to not crash into the ship. Eventually, like, there's just a bunch of shenanigans where they can't hold it in any longer. They have to criticize something. So like they just like get arrested for criticism. And they're like, yeah, it's fun. Mechocracy? Mechocracy. Mechocracy?
I love how you
Like,
emphasize
like mechanical,
Mechocracy.
mechanical democracy, right? So, a virus gets downloaded onto Red Dwarf that has it careening towards a black hole, and the whole crew starts to evacuate. While this is happening, the vending machines are like, hey guys, remember to pack us up neatly, put both pieces of paper on the side and make sure we're packed up safe. And the crew go, yeah, we're not evacuating the vending machines. You guys don't matter. The vending machines have the vending machines stop the virus by like using all their CPU power together to like thwart it, and then they go on strike. So in order to prevent in order to stop the strike from happening, all the machinery on board demands a representative in the crew. So Crichton volunteers himself because he's a robot, and Rimmer volunteers himself because he's Rimmer and he wants to be in charge and stuff. So the two go head to head in a democratic election with all the robots. Rimmer decides to start doing smear campaigns against Crichton. Crichton eventually decides to do a smear campaign against him, and they're both like making fun of things they did throughout the show. Like, they make fun of Crichton because he didn't know those 3 girls were dead at that time. It's like, do you really want someone who doesn't know if someone's alive or dead? And like, they make fun of like Rimmer for having a society of like 6. I don't remember the exact things they made fun of Rimmer for, but like, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah,
you know?
there's no shortage.
Okay, and eventually they're tied neck and neck, and they need one more person to vote. So they go into the garbage hole on the ship. They go into like the garbage section of the ship, and they find none other than Talkie Toaster. And they convince him, all right, we'll eat your toast, but you have to vote for Crichton if you want to. So he wins the election, and he eventually agrees.
Talkie Toaster saves the day.
Talkie
Yeah.
Toaster actually came back. He's a semi-important character.
Semi-important. I think he just saved everyone.
All right, M-Corp. So Red Dwarf gets like a software update on the ship, and when they get this, it turns out that the JMC was bought out by a company called M-Corp. In fact, around the 26th century, everything on Earth was bought out by M-Corp. The rivers, the earth, the land, the water, like disease was bought out by M-Corp. They just bought everything. And so now M-Corp owns Red Dwarf.
So
and
if you were to contract a disease without like legal authorization, was that like illegal or copyright?
We don't know. It's just that they can now buy and sell diseases. They have a copyright on diseases. It's not copyright infringement if you catch a disease, because it would be like watching a TV show. But if you tried to create copies of that disease, then you would be violating the law. Question.
So, Earth never blows up, right? Earth has been continuing throughout time during the show.
We don't know if... One of the big things about this show is that we don't know if Earth is gone or not. We never actually learn what happened to Earth until this episode.
Yeah.
Where it was revealed that it just became a capitalist hellhole.
Okay.
So, Lister, because M-Corp is installed on the ship, all the stuff on JMC go invisible to Lister. Lister can no longer see anything that's from Jupiter Mining Corporation. He can only see MCorp stuff. And eventually this goes to stuff outside of JMC, including the crew members. He cannot see anyone else.
Why?
Because he's the only registered crew member on the MCorp ship, and they just make everyone else invisible.
Huh.
Yeah. So he's essentially alone because he has no one to talk to. He can't hear or see anybody else.
Can they see him?
They can see him. He still exists to them. It's just he's acting like no one else is around.
Okay, does he still see his surroundings?
He can still see his surroundings,
So
but
why don't they write notes?
they don't actually do that in the I think they try to do that in the episode, but like at the very end.
That's dumb.
Because in order to uninstall the new software update from Red Dwarf, the lister goes to Rimmerworld, which is like there's a teleporter that came onto the ship with the software update that could just take you there. And so he goes onto this teleporter and he goes to Rimmerworld. The essential idea is that you can buy anything you want with money. You like water is $400. A glass of water is $400, right?
Inflation.
It's not inflation. It's just that they're demanding that much for the water, right? So yeah, you can just buy whatever you want. He starts buying friends here. He forgets all about like he's supposed to like get the software update installed. He just starts buying friends. Eventually he runs out of money, but they charge him in time, so he starts getting older. Capitalist hell, am I right?
Yeah.
So the crew eventually figure out that this is where he's at, and by the time they find him, he is 170 years old.
Oh no. Wait.
Just like in the second episode, baby! It's all coming back! So they reset so he eventually gets aged back down, but it's a fun little callback. But
Wait. Okay,
Wait.
so does it visit the plot hole that you said, I think?
wait, what?
Does it revisit the plot hole you
Part
said?
of it, not the part with
Not-
the kid.
not-
Yeah, but the part where he's 170 years old.
Okay.
He doesn't actually talk. He doesn't actually go to the thing at 170 to say the thing. He just sort of is 170 and then turns back.
Cool.
So how Crichton gets MCorp off the ship is that he buys a malicious virus that destroys the software update.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart dude. And so they figure out that there's still part of the update is in Lister's brain. So in order to get rid of it, they have to reset his brain, which means going back to, like, they have like one data backup from when he was 23 years old all the way back here. So his memory gets reset to when he was this old. Or back to this happened. So he forgets this all happened, but Crichton says he can recreate all the memories in a month. It's just like a fun callback so they can do the first scene of the show again in this episode. A lot of this is just like fun callbacks that are really cool. Hey! Hello! Season 13, episode 6, Skipper. The last episode of the show. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, Crichton makes a lesion in space-time on accident. He just sort of messes up. He creates a lesion in space-time. This causes another universe to bleed into theirs, this one being the opposite of their universe. So every time you make you know the idea that every time you make a choice, there's another universe where you made the opposite choice?
Yeah.
No.
This is the universe where you made the opposite choice. So every time you decide to do something, you do the opposite of that. So in order to fix this lesion, they sit at home. They
What
sit
about
in
the
their
choice that your parents made to fuck on the night you were conceived?
No.
Sorry, what? Sorry?
Well, everything up to this point is just going to be the opposite of what they choose to do, right?
I hate this.
Right? So like, in order to fix this lesion, they just don't go to the science room. They don't do anything about the lesion, and they don't worry about it at all. This fixes the lesion.
Fixes the lesion? Does it stop the bleeding and fix everything else?
It fixes everything. But not only that, Crichton now has made a technology that can just travel through space and time. Or just through, like, different universes.
They were already doing that beforehand.
Yeah, but now they can do it also.
Because they were doing it by accidental invention. Now they can do it purposefully.
Now they can do
What
it
about the whole
purposefully.
thing with the mirror universe? Did they?
They could only go to the opposite universe.
Alright.
So they literally had to shoot a laser at a mirror to go to the opposite universe.
This is weird.
Yeah. So
You say that now.
Rimmer volunteers to be the person to use the dimensions or the universe skipper or
Because of course he does.
Yeah, because he wants to find a universe where he is not stuck in the situation where he's actually successful. So the first universe he comes across is a universe where the radiation leak hasn't happened yet. And we get to meet like Holly and the rest of the crew again one last time before the radiation leak does happen and he has to leave. So after that, he just starts jumping through other dimensions until he finds one where he is an officer. And then, once he arrives in this universe, they like using the old set from season 1 and 2, which is really cool. Once he gets here, he realizes that while he is an officer, Lister is the captain of the ship. So after spending some time thinking about it, Rimmer decides to go back to his original universe because he cannot live in a world where Lister is more successful than him.
Oh wait, is that because the chain of command just totally flipped?
Yeah.
So second in command.
Exactly.
Okay.
So just goes back to the original universe.
What
and
if he went back to the original universe, made himself lower ranked than Lister, and then went back? Would that work?
No, that's a different universe than this universe.
Okay, what if he went to the opposite
This isn't
universe?
just the opposite universe. He's now traveling to random multiverses throughout. So
Yes.
it doesn't have that inverse effect.
Okay.
So this is just another dimension where like Lister outranks him. And so he decides to go back to his original universe, and that's the end of the episode, which almost ends the show. That was the last season for 3 years, but then we got a movie called The Promised Land, which I won't talk about because it does nothing really happen. Basically, we get to meet the cat people for real this time. We meet the actual cat people.
Oh, the promise.
Yeah, The Promised Land, Fushile. Basically, they're trying to get back to Fushile. They find Cloyster. It turns out they hate Cloyster because he started this whole mess.
That was Fiji, right? Not
Fiji, yes. And so, like, not much really happens here. I guess what's notable about the movie is that they find a new, like, you had soft light holograms and hard light holograms. Now they have diamond light holograms. Diamond light holograms are essentially holograms that have the light fruit from One Piece. They can just control their own light.
Sure.
Yeah, and so they defeat the main villain by like Rimmer turns his light into like a little laser pointer thing, so he can just like do the little cat thing where they chase the red dot.
See, it's funny because they're cat people, aren't
Yeah, exactly. They're cat people. They're cat boys.
they? Well, humans don't love bananas, so why didn't that evolve out of them?
I like bananas.
I like bananas.
They've been making the show since 1988, and that is Red Dwarf. That's about every single thing about Red Dwarf. Like every single episode of the show. We didn't really go over the books that much, but that's a whole separate universe I don't want to get into. Yeah.
I think you mean we don't have time to get into.
I don't want to. I don't want to spend any more time on this. This was a. I grew up with Red Dwarf because my parents were really into British shows, and so I just had all the DVDs to watch in my free time. So like I got really into it when I was like 4.
He's had plenty of time.
Yeah, to just watch the episodes. So that's the Red Dwarf lecture, everyone. Any questions? No.
God, no.
Jackson, you have a question.
Are you gonna pronounce the show's name correctly from now on?
It's Red Dwarf.
Yeah, you've been saying dwarf the entire time.
What's the difference between what I just said and dwarf?
It's wrong.
It's dwarf, not dwarf.
On the note of Shaka University,
Red
we would
Dwarf.
like to thank
Red
everyone
Dwarf.
for
No.
attending
Now you're saying
in person and virtually.
It's Ouroboros.
It's Ouroboros!
It's Ouroboros.
We will see you for the next lecture.
Ah! You all suck. I'm out of here.
We're firing you.
raccoon comes on your
Get
face.
out of here!
You can't even open the door.